How are you doing? All right?
I'm all right. How are you?
Welcome. So I'm going to try and pronounce your name because John Lebbon is what you said, but we've been pronouncing here John Lebbon.
Well, it sounds fancier, doesn't it? If you say like, it's a better stage name, isn't it? Apparently, when I was in French at school, she said it means John the Good, Le Bonnet. It's like a French name or something, but I mean, I don't look very French. We don't act very French.
No, there's definitely not a French look about you.
No, that's what I mean. I look Irish, I would say. Most people
A little
say.
bit, yeah. I was going to say when I met you, I said there's probably some Irish there somewhere, is there?
I think my granddad and grandma both come from Ireland. So they moved over in like the 60s or 70s or something like that. So I like the Irish music and I like Guinness, so it must be like in my veins.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So I guess this for people that watch my podcast and watch my channel. Maybe tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, how you're known, I guess.
I would say for comedy,
yeah,
the videos online have done quite well, and a lot of people like the addicted to attention online ones. So like, you know, like highlight what people act like on Facebook and stuff and things like that. But I've did comedy now for like 10 years, but I've only started doing the videos the last 2 years. But I got into comedy by mistake because I used to play rugby and I broke my leg.
Yeah.
And I was watching Phoenix Nights. Do you remember Phoenix
Yeah,
Nights?
I do.
And because I was bored in there, I was only done 2 series, and I seen Peter Kay and Dave Spikey saying, we've run out of IDs and things like that. And I was just bored, and I thought, there's loads of places you could go with this sort of writ. Like a little sketch, a few pages, sent it to Dave Spikey.
Yeah.
And then I think his agent said, he'll read scripts, but he wants paid, and he'll give you notes. I went, no, I don't really want anything out of this. Just go and make some more. I'm bored in the house. And then Dave Spikey got in touch and said, I'd like to meet you to do some IDs. So I started helping Dave a little bit. So he was captain on 8 out of 10 cats.
Oh, right.
So like they have like people that help out with little lines and stuff like that. And I can remember it was like £25 a line or something. But I was like, oh my God, like I got like 25.
Just have your lines out there is cool, no?
That's what I mean. I wasn't bothered about money or anything like that. And then Dave said, well, why don't you do stand-up? And I was a bit like, because I was quite shy in school. Like, you know, remember in school, like, you know, if you're not reading along, you've got to read out in class. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to read out in class.
Yeah, I hated
that.
when you were picked to read out. I literally would shit myself, like.
Yeah, well, I wasn't that type of person, really. Like, I've always been daft, like, I've always been stupid and stuff. But I like, stand-up just didn't seem like it would be for me. And then I just started doing stand-up, and it was all right. So it went quite well. So
describe your first kind of, for me, like it'd be interesting because I've always kind of, when I was younger, I'd love to do stand-up. I loved watching stand-up comedians, but I never had the courage to, you know, because I'm sure it felt like the world was going to swallow you up the first time you stood up there. Like
first time I'd done it, I didn't even know how to, I didn't have Facebook or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I can remember like, how do you even go about doing stand-up? So I found this place in Wigan.
Yeah.
And they said, come down on a Tuesday, you can do 10 minutes. So I read 10 minutes, and I can remember like going down, and I got there. It was like I felt like out of body. I was like embarrassed, like I was on stage, just like shaking like that. I was like, oh my! But it went quite well for the first go, and I thought, I've smashed this. This is easy. I'll get an hour together, be in arenas and that. And then the second time, I died like the worst death.
what was that like?
It was because I did well on that night. The guy said, come and do our charity night. We've got a singer on there. They had Amy Winehouse singer on.
Yeah.
Then they had a magician on. And they were like top end acts, like they were professional acts. I was doing my second ever show, and I was going on last.
Wow.
And it was like an Indian restaurant above, and there was like, I think it was like 150 people there. And I went on, and I was doing 20 minutes, but I'd never even done over 10. So I was just going up, and you could tell people like, what's this? Do you know what I mean? I could feel myself like shaking like that, and I started getting like dead stressed in the face, and I got lines down my head there, like lightning lines. And I went to the doctors, went, I've got like lines here. And I said, you generally get them in like dead stressed out situations, not like terrorists, you know, if you were like captured or something like that. He said, your body's been through like the same sort of trauma. And he said, what have you been doing? I did stand-up comedy.
Jeez, yeah. Well, that's a huge thing. Like I know mates of mine have done kind of, you know, that 10 minutes, and they said it was the most scariest 10 minutes they've ever done, like, you know. And where did it go from then? Because obviously you died that night, as you said. Did you want to quit, or were you thinking, I'm going to give that another go?
I think it's because I didn't look into it at all. Like, I was like, quicker I get an hour together, quicker I can just go on to it. Like, you don't have a clue. So, like, reality is the first 3 or 4 years of stand-up, you're just learning how to do it. Like, you're just going up, and it's terrible. Like, when people first start, like, I look back at some of the stuff I was doing, like, oh, my God. Like, whereas now, like, you just think, well, that works, that doesn't work, so you're just piecing it together. It takes a long time to get an hour of stand-up to get that's decent. Like you can put an hour of terrible stuff together today, couldn't you? But to make it good takes a long time. And stand-up's it's like a skill.
Yeah.
Like anything, like you do MMA and stuff like that. It's like someone saying, I want to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You're like, that's going to take you time.
Yeah.
And it's the same with stand-up. Like Peter Kay was classed as like an overnight success. It still took him like 4 years or something like that. It's not like overnight, is it really? And
no, and I mean, I listen. I don't know if you listen to Joe Rogan or if you ever listened to the guy. So I listen to Joe, and he talks about learning to be a stand-up, and he goes to particular places where there wouldn't be a lot of people, and he tries out his stuff and sees how it goes, and then he can translate that into bigger gigs. Like, but he says some of them just fall flat in their arse. Like,
well, I did one. Last time, I wouldn't even say die, but last time it didn't go great.
Yeah.
I did a show, I think it was of a Hull way, and I was opening up the show, and I had a lot of like Facebook stuff, Instagram stuff. The youngest person in there, because I asked, was 64. Because it was all like a retirement town. There was people in wheelchairs at the back. Some of the people, you're probably checking pulses if they're alive. I'm rattling out Instagram jokes and stuff like that. They didn't get any of the references because you're like, has anyone got fit? Like, no one even had Instagram, no one had TikTok, and you're like coming out with them jokes, and you're like, oh my, it's like God's waiting room to try and do stand-up. And I thought, oh my God.
That's what my grandmother used to call swanage.
Yeah.
It's God's waiting room.
Well, I was thinking, because I was even joking when I was on there, because I should have brought my heartbeat stand up or something like that, like something.
What did you do? Did you think of switching, or did you just carry on? Like,
I started talking to the crowd a little bit, bring them involved in it, because they weren't going for my stuff. So it was just one of them, you're like, oh, where are you from? And then just started doing that sort of thing. So like brought it back up again, but no, it was horrendous. Like people never, in comedy, you never hear about people's deaths. They're the only stories I like to hear. No one say you're like, I stormed it and stuff like that. Like the worst one I've had was because I was doing stand-up full-time. Stand-up comedy is terribly paid. Like I'm on a Facebook group now, and it'll be like, oh, we need a headliner. Yeah. Someone's doing live at Apollo, you can't do it anymore. £100.
No way.
But that's,
seriously, that low?
You've got to pick someone up on the way and stuff. It's like headliner in England generally gets about £200. Comedy Store, that's what you'll get paid, £200.
That's nothing.
It's only Friday, Saturday that you're doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And just say like, where I live, it costs £60 to get to the nearest comedy
That's
club.
less than I used to get DJing. When I was DJing in Ireland, I'd get like £300 for a night, and that was like 4 hours just pumping out music of other people, like,
TV comics, that's what they get when they do comedy.
Even
stores.
now, like,
yeah, that's a going rate. The Comedy Store is £200 to headline and to open, so they'll have 3 acts on, and that's what they'll get.
Because you always think like they're absolutely minted lads doing that.
That's why it's all posh people. I think 94% of people involved in TV or like comedy and stuff are private educated. Yeah. Because poor people can't afford to keep doing it. So you've got to go and get a job.
They're funding it themselves, like.
Well, mum and dad will give them. That's why I like the Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
It costs like 10 grand to do it as a comedian, because the rent and your apartment and that, it's dead expensive. And that's why it's just like dead rich comics. You never say like, oh, Edinburgh award going to someone like me. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, council estate guy. Like, it's always like, oh, Bartholomew. It's always like them type of people, isn't it? It's never like.
You reckon it's rigged that way, like?
It's just fit. Like I couldn't afford to say, like, tell you what, I'm just going to spend 10 grand at the Edinburgh Fringe. Whereas, like, if you were a rich kid, like mummy and daddy, you'll be like, oh, it's his passion. Yeah. Whereas, like, someone like me, no chance.
And to go back, just to rewind, like you talked about rugby. What got you into rugby? Because we were talking about this before, and for me, rugby was like, growing up was like for boarding school and people that were kind of, as you said, more posh. In England, I think it's more widespread, isn't it, rugby? Like,
well, in England, like I started off at rugby league, and that's proper working class. That's just like, you think of a rough town in England, they play rugby league in the north,
right?
So like you've got like Wiggins and all them sort of thing. And my dad's that type; he worked down the mine and stuff. And it was sort of like you're gonna play rugby. So I got tucked down when I was 9. I'll send you a photograph. I was fat. I used to get called Haribo, for sweets, but I was unstoppable because I was dead fast. Yeah. So I was like about. I'd say I'm the same weight as I am then, but I was only that big. Jesus. Do you know what I mean? So I was like the fat kid off the Goonies, chunk like that. So I was like that playing rugby, and I can remember like the difference in rugby league and rugby union. Was when I was playing rugby union, they were dead like you say, it was dead posh. Like it was all BMs and stuff like that. I used to play like north of England and county and stuff. Yeah. My dad used to have to park outside the ground because the starter motor had broken the car. Oh, so you have to park on top of a hill with everyone else was in BMs.
Just waiting to get a roll down afterwards.
I just rocked up in a naff jumper and stuff like that. Oh, terrible thing. But rugby league was one of them. I got into it like, I think I was 9. And then I started playing rugby union as well. But when I played rugby league, I can remember I scored 10 tries in one match when I was dead fat and fast.
That's mental.
And I can just remember the other parents going, "It's not fair with that fat cunt playing." And I thought, imagine that these days, like the grief you used to get. The other teams used to like, mums and dads was like, "Oh, I wouldn't drop if it was a pie."
Yeah.
You know, if you dropped a ball and that. And
Yeah.
like, when I look back, like you were getting grief off parents when you were 10. You know, like the other team shouting at you and stuff. Whereas I don't think that happens now with kids.
How did you find that though? That must have helped you translate into the comedy because, you know, getting the abuse as a kid. I struggled, like when I was playing football, I struggled. That's kind of why I dropped out a lot in those things. Is I couldn't handle the abuse I was getting playing football, like, and I just kind of backed out and started drinking, like.
Well, funny for me, that's what I do about stand-up. Like, when I was younger, I was in every special needs class going.
Yeah.
So I'm like hyper. That's why I don't have caffeine or out like that.
Yeah, because I was wondering, you were drinking before we came here, no caffeine in your coffee. I was like, oh, that's strange.
Well, only recently started. I just thought it's another thing. Like I can't spell or out like that. Like people think the videos we put on, like people like, oh, he spelled that wrong, so people engage underneath. And I wish I was that clever, but it's just because I spelled it wrong. Like I spelled feared without the E in or something like that. And the amount of people giving us abuse on that. So couldn't spell. I was hyper. So in school, like back in the day, you used to have like special classes, didn't you? Where like an hour a week, like the special kids would go. I was in every single one of them. Right. So like I run the special classes.
Well, it's changed now, isn't it? People are more aware of that sort of stuff. Now it's like in the corner, like.
Oh, wait, that was just a spaz class at school. That's where you just got hiding, didn't you? Like you couldn't spell hyper, like get in there, ginger, get in there, sort of thing. So I was in all that, and I was playing rugby, and I was fat. Yeah. And I was on free dinners. Can you remember free dinners at school if your parents?
No, in Ireland, like, well, the school I went to, there was no dinners.
Right.
You know, you were sent in with a packed lunch, you know, and you were lucky it wasn't taken off you, like.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? But we never had the dinners in school. Well, never had that.
In England, just say like your parents aren't working or something like you think you get them free.
Yeah.
So like I was like, if I was ginger, I would have had every box ticked as a young lad. You know what I mean? Like if you were fat, thick, poor. Do you know? Not poor, but you know what I mean. Not like high up.
Yeah.
So it just. I think that's why with the comedy now, it just doesn't bother us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like after, like I think that's the problem with kids these days. They're too soft. Whereas like when you were younger, like you were getting abuse, weren't you? You just had to get on with it.
Oh yeah, we were
like
getting
now,
stuff thrown at us in the class. I remember I was messing around in the back of the class, and next thing this lump of timber just whizzed past me head, and it was the teacher throwing it at me, like, you know what I mean? And there was no messing back then. But for me, I find that interesting because you also had a lot of things against you in the sense that like you were like the target at school for bullying, like, and you still carried on. Like for me, I retracted a lot. Like, so how did you kind of deal with that in your head?
Well, it was all right for me because I was quite fat and big.
Yeah.
So no one really messed with you that way, if that made sense. And like it was one of them, I just wasn't that bothered about stuff. So I never got bullied or out like that. Obviously other teams and that.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, you never had photos taken. I didn't know how fat I was. I look back at photos and I feel like my mum and dad should have been put in care how fat I was. But then, like, you didn't have Facebook and that. Yeah. So I can remember once, because everyone had a strip, and I used to have to use a different strip.
Yeah,
it didn't fit, so like
just bigger, like
under 10s. I was wearing like the under 14s and stuff like that, just the tops that fit. But I think we played at Wembley in under 11s in a curtain raiser. Yeah, and I've got that video at home, and people are like, "Oh, it must have been a good day." And I look at that video and I think, "How fat was I on there?" Like, but I could still play rugby and stuff. It was just one M. I don't know what was happening. I must have been just eating chips. Yeah. But then I was only fat for like a year and a half. Yeah, and then I was normal size. Yeah, I still get sent them photographs now, like 20 odd years. Like my mates will still like, "Oh, remember when you were fat?" And you're like, "Fucking 30 years ago, then."
And was it the training that kind of evolved you into like fitter and, you know, removing the fat? Let's say.
I think it was more like it was either get a Thai bride or lose the weight sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like it was like I can remember like being 12 and that, and I thought I think I prefer being slimmer because it's not Hollywood. Girls aren't going for personality, Alice. So yeah. No one wants a fat like. Well, they didn't in them days. Well,
if you're scoring all the tries, you know what I mean. You're out there smashing it.
Yeah.
And then so your rugby then obviously evolved. It became something. From what I understand, you made money from.
Yeah.
And that was your mainstay for making money, rugby. How long did that last? And where did it go to kind of bring to that injury? Like.
Well, I at 16, I went down to Wigan. Yeah. And I did my work experience at a professional club. Yeah. And I had to live with a family. And that's what was going to happen. So you'd go to a club and they put you with a family. Yeah. And the family were lovely, but I'm like 40 now. I'd say I'm maturity of like maybe a 30-year-old. So I'm well behind. Like, so when I was 16,
you and me both.
I can't turn a wash machine on. I can't cook. I can make a pot noodle.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Like my missus does everything. I can't wash clothes and that. So the thought of me at 16 doing that, and I can remember just being down there and I was like, I don't think I could do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you'll have to do this, that, the other. And I was a proper like mammy's boy. Mum made all my dinners and my dad took, and I thought, oh God. And I ended up signing for a local team.
Yeah.
They got us an apprenticeship with the, like my grades. Like I left school with the same GCSEs I went to school with. Do you know what I mean? Like none. So they were going to get us this engineering apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Which was like everyone was after in the area and stuff. So I got an apprenticeship. I want to say it was like 10 grand to sign on or something. It was like a decent money for me.
Yeah.
Considering I had an out. And
Big time, man. Nice bundle of cash to start off with. Like.
And a job, which was like a decent job, but I didn't last long as an engineer.
No.
I used to have it on my CV, an engineering background, but I was there for about 3 months. One of the jobs was putting holes in bolts.
Yeah.
So you put a thing in the machine, tighten it,
Yeah.
put a hole in it, pull it out. Another one.
All day.
All day. 8 hours a day.
I'm sure that's done by a robot now.
Oh, that's what I mean.
That would drive me mental.
Just tighten it up in the lathe.
Yeah.
And the thing goes in. Take it out. Another one. I started putting the bin further away to make it interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like just to try and like, and I just thought I can't. Like I'm one of them. I like to be out and about and stuff. Just being in like a dark engineering spot.
That would drive me mental. Like.
Yeah,
Absolutely mental.
It's just I had horrendous jobs. Like, because I just played rugby. That was always my focus.
Yeah.
And then I did like I worked in a sunbed parlour.
Right.
Which was I was horrendous for that. It wasn't a good advert
You're using
for
it, yeah.
That's what I mean. Well, first time I'd done it, I can remember someone coming going, "Oh, is Lasso in?" And I was like, "No, it's me." And he was going, "Do you work here?" And he just started laughing. Didn't even know him, and he just started laughing because he just thought, "Oh God!" And I had to do a training course to work in that sunbed parlour.
Yeah.
And I can always remember it was only half an afternoon, and one of them was like, "If you want to do 10 minutes, it's 2 tokens.
Yeah.
If they want to do 15 minutes, how many tokens?" I was like, 3. And they're like, "Well done, John." I thought, oh God, this is like being in the special class again. so I did that, and I did farming for a bit. I didn't mind being a farmer.
What sort of stuff were you doing? Because I did farm fencing for a while. That's some tough work, like logging fences out and then driving them into the ground with these, the pile driver yoke.
Yeah.
That was hard work, man. That was. You would have built you like.
Oh, it was the fittest I've ever been when I worked on the farm. 'Cause I was playing rugby, and like we'd move tatties, and just say we'd take like 8 ton of pallets. So you've moved 8 ton in that day, picked the bags up, moved it. You go around each field. So I think you walked like, it was just under 10 miles a day on the farm. And the days you're doing tating, you're moving 8 ton. Then you go train at night. It was the best I'd ever looked.
Fit as a fiddle, I'd say.
Yeah, but it pays terribly. It just literally.
Unless you're getting subsidies.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I like the farmers are always the ones that aren't doing the work. They normally get a gimp in, and I was that gimp. So like that's normally what happens with them sort of jobs.
And how long did you stay doing the farm, and where'd you go after that then?
My CV was like 5 pages because I got sacked from everywhere. I used to get sacked. I got sacked. I went to labouring.
Why'd you get sacked for that job? I'm interested to know.
Farming, I didn't get sacked.
Oh, right, okay.
I was friends with his man. That was one of the jobs. I'd say out of my life, I've only not been sacked maybe from 3 or 4. I got sacked from labouring because the guy that run the project was spot on. He used to give us extra overtime.
Yeah.
And this new guy come and he's like, "Oh, where's them labourers? Oh, numbnuts." Called me and this other lad.
Seriously called you that?
We were just looking at him like that. As if, what did he just say? He said, "Oh, switch your brains on. The owners of this project are coming. Can you look like you've got a brain between you when they're here?" So when the guy come, they're all in suits and had to look around these houses that have been built. I pulled my pants up right up here. Started pretending I was special needs. I was like, I don't know how I'm God like that. You're a labourer like that. And lad just said, "Get off the site." But the thing is, though, I couldn't get a lift home.
No.
So we were miles away, and he said he banned anyone there giving us a lift home. So I had to walk home because I didn't have a mobile and I had no money.
That's
so it
brutal.
was like 6 mile I had to walk back home. But we got sacked for pretending we were special needs in front of the people that own the projects. Because the other lad had his thing, and then he pissed in his kettle, the boss's kettle.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
It was just like, when I look back and think, God, but that was just labouring. Because if you're minimum wage, you're just like one hangover away from jacking it off, aren't you? So it was never like any decent job.
It's like you're not going to really hold. You're thinking to yourself, "I'm going out here." I worked in the kitchen for about 2 weeks, and the same thing. Your man was just abusive all the time. You come in. The end, I just threw the pan at him and told him to shove it and left the job. Like I was like, "I'm not staying here for abuse." Like not exactly. You're paying me like millions of euros to listen to this nonsense, like,
You just wish you could talk to your younger version, couldn't you? Like, I wish I could, like, someone come up to me when I was 17, like, do something like you enjoy or something like that. Don't just keep going from heap to heap and stuff like that.
The thing is, like, back then you don't really know, and you're just looking for some money to go out and have a few pints.
That's all it was,
get up to something, like, and you don't really have. Well, It always amazes me, some kids that go to you, what do you want to be? And they know exactly what they want to be. And even back in school, when someone said to you, I'm going to be a doctor or whatever it is, I didn't have a clue what I was going to be. Like, I just want to get out of this school. Like, that's all I want to do and see what happens after that, you know? And like, I think that the journey for me was basically, I had to go through like the farm fencing to, you know, I did picture framing, I did, you know, all the different jobs that I've had have kind of escalated to me being able to do what I do today. And I'm sure that's the same with you. When you look back at some of the stuff you've done, it's even material for you. Like.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it was ideal for comedy. Like, you couldn't have a better background. Like, a lot of comedians like to think they're working class, where a lot of them aren't. And I've got all them, like, they're all true stories. Like, it's like I do a bit in my stand-up about pedos. Yeah. Because where I lived, there was 3 paedophiles that lived nearby. So when I was going to school, it was like a paedophile gauntlet. But they're from back school. And that, I said that's how ugly it was. I never got chatted up once. Do you know what I mean? Like that. Like, just make a joke about stuff like that. Because one of them was like, he was in the Sun paper and everything. Yeah. But we used to knock on his door and run away. Yeah. Because they give the best chases, pedos, when you're kids, like, stuff like that. So we used to do all that sort of, like, when you look back, like, that is mental. Like, Like, I did a video about 90s verse now, growing up. Like, playing out, like, my mum and dad would kick you out the house. Yeah. And you just come home when the lights come on.
Get a couple of stick guns, head up into the middle of nowhere, and they wouldn't know where you are because there's no phones. Keep in contact.
10 hours you'd be out, and you could be in Mexico. Yeah. And then you just come back, wouldn't you? And they couldn't give a shit. Whereas now they've got, like, trackers on the phone, and everyone's like, oh, watch out. We were like T's and pedos. Like, remember we used to have a laser pen? And
that should be the title of one of your stand-up shows. Just that's the title there, T's and pedos. Oh, class.
It's just because, like, we knew, like, back in the day, you didn't really call them pedos. You used to call them weirdos, didn't you? But there was one guy where we used to play out and that. He used to open the curtains naked like that. So you'd be playing on the grass, you'd go and tell your dad, you'd like, stop leading him on, or stuff like that. You're like, just no one cared, did they? Like, Jimmy Savile was on the telly.
Yeah, it's mad when you think about that. Like, that's absolutely insane.
He looks like a pedo, doesn't he? Like, you wouldn't, like, you look at Jimmy Savile and go, I'll let my kids stop with him for the weekend.
Yeah, he can hang out and stay in my house for the weekend, you know what I mean?
Just an absolute oddball, isn't he?
Definitely strange looking dude, but he was on the TV, like, and there's lots of them like that. We could go into a big story about the whole Epstein stuff and all that, but we'll not delve that deep.
Well, like, I worked for the job centre. Yeah. I got sacked from there, which is weird because if you get sacked from the job centre, you're meant to go back in, aren't you? The next week,
that's
but
strange.
On the other side of the table, but I never went back in.
All right, John, what happened in your last job?
I never went in. I think I was out of work for a couple of weeks, but I thought I'm not signing back on where I've just been working at.
Why did you lose the job there?
My job was to get people jobs.
You should have been an expert at that, the amount of jobs you've had.
And it was weird because the job centre don't work like that. Yeah. So, like, I used to have my X Factor list. Because if you go to the job centre, you get traffic lighted. So if you come in, like, I ask you questions, and if he's green, he'll get a job. Yeah. If he's amber, a little bit of help, a little CV workshop, he might get a job. And then red, you're the one that's fucking mental, you're not getting a job. Yeah. So when you go in, that's officially what happens, or that's what used to happen in the job centre. But a lot of the people, like, they could get a job, but they couldn't use a computer and stuff like that. So what I did, I would, like, ring up businesses. I've got a guy, his CV's terrible, but he's spot on. Yeah. I'll drive him up because they couldn't get there. And, like, I used to do that. So I got more people jobs in that job centre than any other centre in the UK on my own. So not the centre, just me. Yeah. So 1 month I got higher than everyone in the UK, all the centres, by a long way. Because I was just like, he's a bit thick, but he's a good lad. Yeah. Bring him up. And I was just getting in place and people like that. Job centre, like, no, we don't work like that.
Seriously? So you were getting people employed, which was, I would think, would be the job of the job centre.
Well, they were like, they used to do it as like, oh, well, he hasn't been on here long. So they were trying to get, like, the longer people on first. Whereas I was just getting anyone a job. Like, there was a guy that had cancer on his face. Yeah. Dead nice fella. Yeah. And they were saying, no, don't try and get him a job. He should be on the sick. But he didn't want to be on the sick.
He wanted to work.
He wanted to work. So I got him a job, and they were like, John, you've just wasted a job. And I was like, wasted a job? And I can remember, like, there was people like labourers who had, like, arthritis on their hands. Yeah. And never missed a day in his life at work. And he'd been out of work for a year because he couldn't do his CV, didn't know how to work. So I got my job at Aldi. Yeah. And he's still there now, and I always like he's buzzing and stuff like that. And like, people used to come in, bring, like, chocolates and stuff because you actually helped them. Yeah. There's a job centre, like, I don't know if you've ever been. Sometimes they talk down to you.
I've been to Social Security a few times. Generally, I've had a job. Most of the time, I've always had sort of a job. But going in, you feel like even though you've got stamps paid for, you feel like when you're going in like, there's this feeling of, like, it's a queue. It feels like you're going into, like, a cell or something. Everything's boarded off. Yeah. And you're going up, and you're like, it's almost like you're begging for money that you've actually contributed to, like in the sense that you paid stamps and stuff. And there's all these questions like interrogation, and then part of you doesn't even want to go in there. Like, you know, I'm guessing job centres are similar. Like,
well, it was like it was a branch of the job centre, so they split it off and stuff like that. But I used to do the CV workshop, and you'd have like people around the table. You're like, oh, why have you got a gap there, Jill? We'll put between jobs, you know, like stuff like that. And like, there was just, and like, believe it or not, there's a lot of paedophiles and rapists on long-term unemployed because no one wants to hire them.
Yeah.
I've been in interviews where like that, like it's going well.
Well, it's probably not a good idea to hire them, is it?
Well, I've been in interviews because you used to allow to sit in with them sometimes, and they were doing an interview and they're like, well, this seems pretty good. Have you got any criminal in? And they've got to tell the truth. Yeah. And you drop the pedo bomb in an interview, talk about going downhill. They're like, oh, well, we'll let you know. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, that job's not available anymore. Like,
Well, I can remember one of them.
Do you not get that information before you go in, or?
No. I mean, I go in with them. I know they're a pedo.
Oh, right, okay. But you have to do it anyways. Like.
There's like they're not going for high-end jobs or like that. But it's maybe like a kitchen porter.
Yeah.
And the employee, if they ask about your criminal thing,
you have to be straight out.
They've got to like give the truth on it. So I can remember one of them complained because on his CV or his application, I hadn't put that he had a hygiene certificate.
Right, okay.
Pedo.
Yeah.
I was going, I don't think that's going to make the difference. You know, like, I was in the office with my boss, pedo, and I was the bad guy.
Yeah.
It was such a weird feeling. I thought,
that's really strange, like, you know what I mean?
I thought, he might touch kids, but his hands will be clean. Doesn't make a difference, do you know what I mean?
Like, no, he shouldn't be in here, like.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know, it was just weird working for the job centre. And, like, you find out where they all live.
How long were you in the job centre then?
I was only there about 3 months or something like that. I got sacked out of there pretty quick.
Because you were getting people jobs.
They ended up. I officially got sacked because I left a CV on a table and it was data protection.
Right. Okay.
Someone's phone number. That's how they got rid of it officially.
They were looking for something, obviously.
They were just like, who's been sacked for that? So I left a CV on my table, and that's why I got sacked. Yeah. It was data protection because it had someone's phone number on. But the official reason is because I was like, I had the X Factor list, they used to call it.
Yeah.
These are people I could get a job. So I'd have my X Factor list, and like companies would just ring me direct and say, John, have you got anyone who do this? And like, I'll just get them in, and it worked miles back. And I treated people normally. Yeah. Because if you don't turn up for your job centre or something, you get sanctioned, and that's your money stopped. I never sanctioned anyone because I thought it's not my money, and it was dead hard, complicated to do it. And I just didn't sanction it because it was just. A few of the people, I think people get on power trips in them sort of jobs. Like I've worked with people in that job centre, like, don't want a job, do you? And you're like, why are you acting? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, whereas I would like. That's
really encouraging. Like that makes me want to come in here and get a job. Like
treat anyone just the same. Yeah. Like a lot of people just like in between jobs and stuff. Whereas people love the thought of like talking down to them. They've done like tests and that, haven't they? Like things before in America where like you give someone a bit of power. Yeah. And it goes like it brings out the worst in people, doesn't it? And I think job centre and stuff like that, sometimes they were just, not all of them, there's some great people that work there, but a few of the people like...
It's funny that like people who do get power, like some people like, especially, I think the younger you are, sometimes you become like a manager or someone higher up in a business, you can lose your way and forget like that you're no different to the people that you're managing. And really the most important thing is not that you're a boss, that you're a leader, that you can somehow lead those people and give them guidance so that they follow you in a way. And they think, oh, instead of like feeling like he's talking down to me, I actually would like to escalate my life in the direction this man is, because he's obviously, you know, a leader. He's doing the things that he's saying. He's not just dictating stuff to you. And he, you know, as you said, like talking to people on a one-to-one level and just being kind to people, because at the end of the day, we all die and we all end up in the same place. Just be kind to people on the journey, whether you have more money, less money, whether you're in a higher position or a different position. Just be decent, like, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. Like, you've done really well in business and stuff, and that'll be because of the person you are, isn't it? Yeah. More than like a lot of it won't be like you were the cleverest at school or anything like that. You become like a better person, don't you? And I think a lot of people forget that you should just treat people like, just say it's the cleaner of the building. The best people will treat the cleaner the same as the CEO, don't you know what I mean? Yeah. Some people just totally overlook the cleaner.
But think about it like this, right? So the way I think about it is, and I try to keep reminding myself of this, is people in life, like particularly I lost my parents in the last 3 years, and it made me realize how valuable your time is, you know. Yeah. And when you take a wallet out, if you take your wallet out, well, you don't really carry cash much anymore, but if you take your wallet out or you look at your bank account, you can see how much money's in there. But if you take out your time wallet, how much time, you don't know how much is left. And the people that are working, for example, in the businesses that I have, they're giving away probably their most precious currency, which is their time.
Yeah, yeah.
So, treating them badly because you're the boss or you're the lead or whatever, respect to the fact that they're giving up their time to be in your business and working hard and they're, doing their best. You should treat them with respect and be kind to them and be decent because they are giving up their time, and that is a precious currency. And they're coming in here. You don't want to be them in the workplace feeling like, I don't want to come here every day. I feel like my boss, when I come in, he's going to be ignorant to me. He's going to shout at me. He's going to do all those things. Yeah, I am firm when I need to get something across, but I can't think of any time Colin might tell you different. But I can't.
He's been
think of
slagging you off.
Yeah. He generally does, Colin there. But that I can think of that I've really kind of lost it. And when I shout, you know what I mean? I've always thought that, talking to someone on a one-to-one level and explaining why whatever they're doing is wrong is the best way forward than just screaming at them. Treat them as human. It's the same way you'd like to be treated yourself. And I think that works better,
Well, it's the thing, when you're in school, you don't want to be I think all the times when people talk down to you. Yeah. And you just think, I just hate to put someone in that situation you were in. Yeah. The worst time I think I've ever felt in school, totally off subject, was I just remember can you remember when you got a pen in school? As in, when your writing got neat, you get given a pen in school.
No, from what I remember, I was always given a pen. Oh, well, in primary school, I think we started with pencils. Yeah, and you had to keep it between the lines. Yeah, my writing's awful now, but
we got given a pen when your writing got neat, in school. And I can remember every Monday in the class, it'd be like Rachel, Sarah, like that, and they'll get read out, and you go and get your pen. Yeah. Well, it got to the end of the year. Yeah. Everyone had the pen apart from me and this other kid who was special needs. Right? Yeah. I'm not saying his name, but everyone knows me. And it come to the last day of school, and I thought, I'm not bothered. I'm going to secondary school. I'm going to reinvent myself. So and then I can remember going into assembly, and on the table there was 2 certificates and 2 pens. Yeah. And I thought, I hope to God that is not what I think it is. Yeah. And I was thinking, I'm going to go through a fire door. I'm going to throw myself through a window. And then the start of the assembly, they went, right, 2 people never give up this year. And we honour them, we're going to give them a pen. So, and it read out my name, these other lads went down there, and I can remember he was holding it up like the World Cup. And I was like, there's no winners on this stage. And I was like, my God. And that was my last thing. I just remember thinking, just get any worse than this. Yeah. It was the first time I always call it out-of-body embarrassment, where I felt like I left my body. I was that embarrassed. I was watching myself. I was like, I can't deal with this. Do you know what I mean?
I don't understand how that can be seen as okay. I don't get it.
Well, back in the day, school was just meant. It was just like public humiliation. Well, it was for it. It just say you were a bit poorer or something, or a bit thicker. Because they used to do what they do in our class. They would give you grades from highest to lowest. Yeah. So they go around like, Sarah, you were the best this week, and then they'd be like, you get it last, and oh no, everyone knows I was last. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was just.
But the thing is, so I had to say, I was always quite quick and picking things up, quite intelligent at that level. But then, what got me was what you talk about. My parents were both hippies. They'd moved from the UK, so in primary school I had a bit of an English accent. I got rid of it fairly quick. And then secondary school, there was a uniform, but our uniform never looked like everyone else's uniform because it was either hand me down or it was a slightly different color or it was never the same. And and then my mother's car was just. I used to tell her to drop me off as far away from school as possible because I was so embarrassed by it. And then obviously they had English accents, so I didn't want anyone to hear that. So it was just this horrible embarrassment. And I think of school, and I just think all it is, and it's my opinion, you learn some skills which obviously are helpful. Yeah. But overall, it's kind of indoctrinating you into some sort of society that they want you to be part of. Yeah. Whereas now I've learned I've learned more outside of school. Even college, I went and studied art in college, and after about 2 years, I just felt I hated art. Well, so it was just dictated to me. Yeah.
The people who set up schools, the people who had the factories in America and stuff. That's where it came from because people didn't want to go and do 10 hours in a factory. Yeah. So schools was brought in to sort of break you. It's like a puppy being broken into. This is what you're going to do. Go somewhere you don't like for 8 hours a day. Yeah. So that's essentially what. If you look into how schools came about, it was is it Rockefeller and people like that. They brought all the school system in because people were just I'm going to get some land and farm this. This seems better than going in that factory. So they had to try and get people in to the work.
Indoctrinate them into society. And it is. It's I don't, when I look back at, like you have had many different jobs. One of them, I ended up designing buildings for a living. And I never studied, I studied art, dropped out of college because I was taking too much drugs, and
I was going to say, you don't look like you do art.
but I was so it was like my father was a picture framer, so when we were growing up, and that's how he kind of made money to bring us up basically, and there was all these artists coming out, and I loved looking at the pictures, and I fell in love with drawing because I was not religious, I was not baptized, and we were in a Catholic school, so during religion class I didn't have to participate in religion, so I just would draw down the back of the class, and I kind of fell in love with drawing, and I thought this would be nice, just go to college and draw. And obviously that encompassed a load of drug taking in the end, like it was just too much partying, and I dropped out of college.
What sort of drugs?
What sort of drugs? Yeah. So luckily enough, there was nothing like heavy. I never crack or heroin, and I never got into, but I was, speed, ecstasy. I was drinking, my drink was Buckfast.
Well, ecstasy is
high quality wine.
Ecstasy looks like I've never done drugs because I'm one of them. I'm stupid on drink, so I don't need drugs added to the mix. But ecstasy is the only one where I look at people and think they look like they're having a good time. Whereas coke just looks paranoid, and all they're doing is thinking about getting more of it. Yeah. And a lot of it, whereas ecstasy, you think they're having a good time then.
Yeah, I mean, for me, right, I had some dabbles with cocaine, but it wasn't that readily available where I'm from, and I'm from the west of Ireland, which is like back then, like those drugs were not big.
Yeah.
And ecstasy was really come on the scene, and I remember the first time I took it was like such a euphoria. Like I took it first and I thought I was going to die. And then I got this coming up, and I was like, I feel like this is heaven, this is the best thing, and I thought this was the answer to all my problems, so I pursued that first high all the time. It was never the same after that. I'm not glorifying ecstasy. In the end, it was just like I'd have to take loads just to get even near to what I felt before. But yeah, I mean, I liked it because you could take one, it'd last a lot longer, and but in the end it just destroyed me. Like I just became an absolute mess. But so in that case, I dropped out of college. I took a job in Tesco's. I took that job on, and
which job in Tesco's?
I'll tell you this. I'm sorry for all the people that shopped in Tesco's in Galway. I was a freshness check guy. So I used to check for freshness. So what we would do, you're supposed to take everything out of the shelf, right, and check that it's in date.
Yeah.
So you'd have to take it off if it was the sell by date. And the use by date, obviously, it should have come off ages ago. And what I used to do was, because I'd be out the night before, out my brain, I'd go in and I'd take the first one out and the one in the back, and if they were all right, I'd just leave it. Like, so I was getting loads of complaints because people were going to the till and there was stuff gone off and all this. But in the end, I just dropped out, and I dropped out because I was getting close to drug-induced psychosis, where I thought I'd gone through a stage where I thought, Colin will laugh at this because he knows the story. I thought I was Jesus for a couple of days. Through drugs, and luckily I came back. But I left the job and I got into architecture, and that's where I was when we sidetracked. I got into the state where this guy took me on, and he took me on as his apprentice, and taught me everything about architecture. You could see I had a design flair. And I went and studied AutoCAD and ArchiCAD, all the software for drawing, and he explained. I learned all the building construction, how they're constructed, the details, all that sort of stuff. And by the end of it, I was like leading projects in designing houses, and they're still standing, funny enough, banks and stuff like that. And I had no qualification as an architect, but this guy, they're
hard to find, the AutoCAD, and I used to do recruitment, and you could never find people with it on the CV and stuff. So it's like a rare skill, isn't it, to have?
Yeah, and it's good. Like it was decent money, but like for me, it was that in the end we had 2008 where everything collapsed. And I lost my job, and anyone who had jobs kind of lost, and the only people that kind of got jobs after that were fully qualified. Right. And I was getting close to 10 years. If I got 10 years, I'd get an honorary architectural. I'd just present all the projects that I've done, and it would have made me an honorary architect. But then that failed. But like that, the point from all that long-winded story was the fact that I learned more because there was lads coming out of college that were studying in the school environment that were no good for us to design. They weren't ready to design buildings, and I was leading them on how to design buildings because I had done an apprenticeship, and that was the old way, was doing an apprenticeship.
It's always better hands-on anything, isn't it? It's like you can't learn things out of a book, can you? And stuff like stand-up comedy. People do courses in stand-up, but I think the only really way to do is just go up and get a mic and try and be funny, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like being a rock star. You don't go on an apprenticeship to be a rock star. You've just got to be.
You just got to be. But when you say that, I have this big breath. I just think of like standing in front of everyone, and they're all looking at you and going, "You better be funny," because we're after taking our night out to come and listen to you. Like, there's a lot of pressure in it. I was saying with me with DJing. Did you like? For me, I used to have reoccurring dreams where I'd press the play button, and nothing was coming out, and everyone was screaming at me. Why you aren't playing music? Why you aren't playing music? Do you ever like have dreams or anything, or moments where you're thinking, if this don't work?
Well, every time you walk in a venue, you're like looking around thinking, oh, are they going? I hate going in before. I'd rather just go in the green room or whatever and just hide, because I just talk myself out of it. I think, oh, she's not going to like my danger wanking joke, is she? She's too old. Or she's got, you know, I just talk, I don't think they'll like paedophile stuff. You know what I mean? And like in your head, you're like, make it worse than what it is. Because I'm one of them, I'm like, I think, oh God, this is going to be terrible. Whereas like a lot of comedians are deluded. Yeah. Like I've worked with comedians and like they'll come off like no clapping, no one liked it, and they're like, stormed it. You know, fucking hell, no, you didn't. And then they're on Facebook, like, oh, it was great last night. You're like, God, I would love to be in that man. Whereas that, like, if it goes okay for me, I always think it's gone terrible. Where if it's gone really well, it's okay. So I'm always like the other way, whereas a lot of comedians are the opposite. Like, if they get like, stormed it tonight. Yeah. And you're like, took the roof off. You're like, really? Didn't sound that good. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, I'm the opposite. I always think it's terrible. Same when you do the videos and stuff, like, just say it doesn't do well. Shit, that's crappy on a funny. You know what I mean? Like, where some people are dead confident. I'm dead unconfident with stuff like that.
I suppose it's good in the sense that you're kind of more critical and you learn more from that. But at the same time, what amazes me with all that sort of stuff when you're talking and you're talking about your childhood and being a fat kid and being kind of different from everyone else, you still carried on, like. That's what amazed me. Like, you just carried on regardless of all that. You're still standing up now and putting yourself in front of everyone, which like does take a lot of cojones or balls, you know. Because I folded when I was younger. I folded. I just folded and just said, right, I'm just going to get high.
I nearly did in school. There was one time worse. You remember trainers in school were massive, weren't they? Like, you had to have Nike.
I was so embarrassed. Trainers like
4 or 5 brands, like Reebok at a push. Yeah. And I can remember once we were going back after 6 weeks holidays, and my mum, she knew the rules. Like, I didn't want much out of life, just decent trainers. Not decent, just not crap trainers. And it was the morning of school, and she opened the box. It was market trainers, you know, them ones off the market for like a tenner. They was pure white. And I thought, oh my God, I can't go to school in them. And I can remember I was like freaking out. I went in the garden and wet them on the grass. I was like, oh, I've wet them in the garden, for whatever reason. I'll have to go in my old trainers. Mum said I threw them out. Yeah. I was like, oh. And I thought, and then I started putting my head on the radiator, pretend I had a temperature and stuff like that. I thought, I can't go to school today with these trainers. And my mum, because they were wet, the trainers, she went, oh, you can't go to school in these. I'll put them in the cooker. Yeah. So she put them in the cooker to dry them. Yeah. Weird thing to do with trainers, isn't it?
Probably.
And then I thought, what's that smell? And my mum went, oh. She pulled them out the cooker. She burnt them. So they were market trainers that had burned. Oh, man.
And so you have to wear them like?
They look like toast. And I was like, oh, fucking hell. Like, they couldn't get any worse. And I thought, I can't go. Honestly, my mum said, well, you're going to have to go to school. And I was like pretending I was sick. And so I remember walking to school thinking, I feel like jumping in front of a car. Yeah. And I'd say I got within 30 metres of the school gates with someone saying, oh, nice trainers. And I thought, oh, no, what a nightmare. But no, that was loads of stories like that. You just think, it just makes you more bulletproof, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes you stronger. Like that for me as well was a big thing. Over the years, I started to just say, right, I'm just stepping through the fear. I may be absolutely bricking it, but I'm going to do it anyways. And it's kind of helped me in life, and particularly in sales. Like, because a lot of people, like one of the companies I have is very much, we do street selling. So people are selling excursions to people, and one of the things they have to do is actually just step out of themselves and stop people and talk to them. And it's that feeling of like, oh, I'm going to get rejected. And then you just realize over time, you're going to get rejected. Whether you like it or not, you're getting rejected, and you've just got to understand that every rejection is just closer to that sale, or, you know, and if you don't get rejected or if you don't step through that fear, you'll never achieve anything in life. Like, so
sales is one of the best skills to have, isn't it? I think was it Warren Buffett said he stepped in a sales thing, because you can have the best company, the best project, but if you can't sell that project, and all life sales, isn't it? It's like when you meet your missus, you're selling yourself to your missus, aren't you? So if you're good at sales, you're good at life, aren't you? So I'm sure it was Warren Buffett who said the best thing he ever done was learn sales, Because like you say, you run a company now, you can run 3 companies, 4 companies,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Being out to walk in a room and talk to people and stuff, it's just like a massive skill to have in any line of work.
But it doesn't, like, some people think that just happens overnight. So
No.
for me, like, I remember when I gave up drinking drugs, I was like the 13-year-old boy that was bullied at school.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I had to read in public, and the words were jumping all over the page, and I was absolutely bricking it, like. And I did it anyways. I remember, like, just everything was just full of fear. I wanted the world to swallow me up. But I realized the more I did those things, like you said, the more you stand up and do stand up, it gets easier and you get that confidence. But you'll always have something new in your life that does give you a certain level of fear. Like, for example, we're starting a new business, and you know, you think, oh, is it going to work? You know, are we going to lose all the money? All those things in your head. But do you know what? It might not work, but you have to try this stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting stagnant.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the sales job I did recruitment for a bit for Capita. I don't know if you've heard of Capita. They're like a big recruitment firm. And the training for it, a friend of mine got the job. I shouldn't have got the job. When we went down London for the training, the guy who won The Apprentice was taking this thing.
Oh, right.
And it was Monday to Thursday we'd done, because we're doing it to Friday. I hadn't learned anything, and I just couldn't get in because I hadn't really used a laptop and stuff like that. I was by far the worst. And on the Thursday night, they were going out for a few pints. And the guy's like, okay, guys, we're going to go for a few pints. And then tomorrow morning, it's dress down Friday, so come in your jeans if you want it, like that. And like Thursday night, I just got absolutely smashed. Like, everyone else was just having a meal, and I think I had like 12 pints, 14 pints. Couldn't even remember. Well, at the time, I had false teeth. Well, I'd obviously drank that much. I'd been sick. I'd spewed up on one of the bars and lost my teeth.
Is that from the rugby now?
Yeah.
They're permanents now, I assume.
These are permanent. Yeah. I used to have one of them pallet things because I thought, no point getting a fix.
My mate used to have one. He'd take it out, and just to freak out people, like, he'd have teeth missing. Hey, boy.
Well, I had missing teeth from there to there.
Yeah.
So I woke up in the morning and thought, oh my God, where's my teeth? So I couldn't find my teeth in the room. And we had this dress down Friday in this dead fancy office in London, and the guy who won The Apprentice was taking it, and it was dress down Friday. And I thought, I can't go dress down Friday without my teeth. Like, you know, like, you can go in like jeans and that, but you can't go without your teeth.
Spitting tobacco, what?
The lad who got me the job was freaking out because obviously I'd been drunk the night before, and he's like, God, I've put my neck on the line for you, like that. So we got 4 chuddy gums and stuck them in.
Yeah.
So I'd done half a day with like the things with chuddy gums as teeth. So I'd like 3 chuddy gums here, just stuck them in, like crushed them in. So I was like, I had a whole day, like, hey guys, how you doing, like that? Because he was saying, just don't open your mouth. And I thought, how can I go, like, honestly, it was 5 hours like that in an office. No one knew that I had no false teeth.
No one said nothing to you, like?
No, because I was just like talking like that, and I had chuddy gums in there. And then I had a show the next day.
Right.
So on the way back from London, I thought, I'll do a show. And my missus had to bring me down backup teeth. Because I used to always have backup teeth, because it happened all the time, because I used to always get drunk and be a mess. So she had to bring backup teeth for this show. And it was just, the false, like, them pallet things, horrendous.
Yeah.
On holidays, it just, I don't know.
How long have you had the teeth you have now?
I've had them in, since I stopped playing rugby, about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So I always said when it finished, I'd get them sorted out. But before then, it just
no point, you could lose them again. Like,
that's what I mean, yeah. Well, when I got them knocked out, I don't know if you've done that in rugby or MMA, where you bust your saliva glands in your mouth.
No,
I've done that.
I've never had that.
I had saliva glands taken out because the false tooth like pushed against that when I got hit in the face. So it, like, bust all the saliva glands. It was just coming up like bubbles. Yeah. So that makes your mouth dead dry every now and again and stuff like that. But I got loads of injuries. I don't know how, because I was on the wing.
Okay, so you've gone from, are you still kind of work, so you're doing a stand-up, it's not your main gig for money, like?
No.
So you obviously have another profession, or you're doing other stuff, which we talked about before here. Like.
I do events and stuff. So when I did stand-up, and I used to, because I did sport, just say you had like an evening with Paul Gascoigne.
Yeah.
I would get asked quite a bit because I did sport interview them on stage. Because you'll go to them nights, there's always some gimp on stage you've never heard of. I used to be that gimp. So I'd just be like a celebrity gimp. Yeah. So I've just been there. They give you questions, and I started doing that. And the people that run them shows are like little gangsters. Yeah. Like, they're all like, hey, I'll tell you what, I won't give you the 600 quid. I'll give you some picture frames. And you're like, I want the cash. I don't know if I can Gaza signed picture frame. You know what I mean? Like, they're always like dodgy, and the amount of ones, and I thought you could do this better by being honest. Yeah. So and I knew like a few of the people who'd done it, so I just started doing that, and I do that now, and like I did all Eddie Hall's tour. Oh wow, yeah. I seen you did a podcast with him. Yeah, well, that was just at the end when we were doing it, and Eddie Hall's decent fella, and he did arms for 2.5 hours once in the gym. I went, fucking hell. 2.5 hours? Yeah, just done arms. Did you join him? I think I did 20 minutes. Because he was lifting light.
You're showing him up, I'd say,
that's what I mean, because he was lifting light. It didn't really work, so. But Eddie was spot on, but people were like, when Eddie was 30 stone,
Yeah.
I can remember being in a room in a theatre like this, and he farted, I'd say, for about 45 minutes straight.
What?
Just constantly farting, and it's like protein. And like Eddie was on like 12,000 calories a day at that time.
12,000 calories.
Calories a day. So he's just like, and honestly, the smell was just unbearable. And the lass come in, like from the theatre,
Yeah.
and she didn't know what to say because obviously it nearly knocked her off her feet because of the smell. She's like, the show's starting 20 minutes like that. And the funniest thing that happened with Eddie, a couple came to the show,
Yeah.
a fellow and his wife, and they were like massive Eddie fans. It was just me and Eddie here, and he was going, "Hey, I love you that much. Will you go with my wife?"
No way.
And Eddie went, "What do you mean?" He went, "Oh, just honestly, it'd mean the world if you slept with my wife." But deadly serious. Like, I was sat there thinking, am I hearing this right? And then Eddie was gone, "Let's have a look." And he was gone, nah. Like that. Because she wasn't great, but it was
What a strange request, yeah.
just a swinger
Yeah.
at the show. But I thought, right in
That's a
front
big
of
thing here in Tenerife. From Seven calling me find out. No, right call. Yeah, swinging's a big thing here. Like
Is it?
apparently, yeah. There's actually a swingers club here. I drove for a swingers event for a week.
Right.
It really educated me on the whole swingers thing. Yeah.
You couldn't think about worse than your bird just being smashed while you were watching. 'Cause
Yeah,
you're
no,
like,
it's not something I could do, but people get off on it.
Yeah.
Some people really enjoy it.
You think you'd just break up, wouldn't you, and just go with other
Yeah.
people or something like that? Because imagine that, it'd just be bizarre, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be very. I mean, even being that, I want a better way to describe it, third wheel. So I remember when I was single and I was dating, and I was asked to go and be with a fella's missus, and I was like, "You better be hiding in the cupboard," because I couldn't be in the room with some other lad like just gawking at you like.
Well, I remember doing a podcast with a porn star.
Yeah,
And she was
I
on
actually
set.
I was looking back at your YouTube channel. I seen that you'd done with Eddie, you'd done with a couple of porn stars as well.
And it was like in this house they'd rented out in Derby.
Yeah.
And they had like volunteers on set. So they'd go and pick the girls up and stuff like that. And the weirdest guy there was the guy, he had I Love Porn t-shirt.
Yeah.
Just walking around. He was like an IT guy, had a decent job.
Yeah.
And he used to stand in if they needed a cock, like a background cock.
It's a strange world though.
And I was just looking, and one of the porn stars' lasses, his husband was there. Her husband, and she was like, "Oh, he comes out with all the sayings." He went, "I've just thought of one. What about if he's in the club and he comes out and rides you?" Like, I was just sat there. I was just like, I felt like they'd intimidated. I thought, "Oh God, this is mental." Like, it's just a different life, though, isn't it?
It's mad, man. Because a mate of mine, he does all those swinger events, and he's really well known in the thing. He's a gay guy, but he's just so good at getting people going. And getting everyone into the whole thing. He's a really, really cool guy. And he rang me, he says, "Danny, I'm doing one in Tenerife." He says, "I need a driver." I says, "Yeah, no problem, man. I'll drive for you." He says, "Good few quid in it." I hadn't any business here at the time. I was working for someone. He says, "I'll take a week off, drive for you." And like I was picking him up at the airport, with the sign, and I remember the first people I picked up, lovely couple. Obviously, I'm not going to say who they are, but they were a really nice couple. Put them into the bus, drove them to the hotel, and it was the first time I'd been to the hotel, so I was given the directions. Got to the hotel, the front door's closed. I'm like, it's up in the mountains here, and I'm like, okay. And I'm from Roscommon, right? In Roscommon, everyone has they're covered colour. It's raining all the time. You don't see much flesh. So they said, go round the what's up? So we got cut off. I was in the process of kind of talking about my friend used to run swingers events, and anyways he contacted me to run. He was organising this one in Tenerife in this rural hotel here on the island, and he said, "Dan, can you drive?" And I was like, he says 500 quid, and I was like, happy days. I didn't have a business at that stage. I was kind of earning basic enough money. I said, "I'll take a week off and go and do it." And I picked up these people I had to sign. I can't remember their names. I was standing at the airport, picked them up, and I was like, at a polo shirt, was trying to be all, respectful and that. And we headed to the hotel. Front door of the hotel is shut. So I'm like, okay, I wonder why it's closed. And then the one was going, go round the side like this. So went round the side, and like, bear in mind, I'm from Roscommon, which is like the northwest of Ireland. There's not like everyone's fully clothed. You don't see much flesh. And I go through this side way of the hotel, and I come through, and there's just an orgy going on. And I'm like, I'm like not knowing where to look. I've got their luggage, and I'm like, where do I bring this luggage? And they're like, oh yeah, just natural for them, because obviously it's not the first time they've been. And I'm like, does anyone know where the manager is? Where do I put their luggage? Blah, blah, blah. And this guy gets out of the jacuzzi. He's literally 2 women looking after him in the jacuzzi, gets out, and he's the manager, and he's standing there naked with a full hard on. And he shakes me hand. He goes, "Oh, you must be Daniel. If you can put the..." And that was my first experience of swingers. And I was like, wow, this is some stuff that I've never witnessed. Like, everyone, and actually the whole week, people were like, I witnessed a lot of stuff that I never witnessed before, but they were all really, really nice people, I have to say. Like,
was there any, like, to me, it's just like dirty old folk. Is there any young people doing it? Or?
There was some young people there, but there was some young people thrown in for the mix. There was a couple of girls that, that were paid to be there. Like, but there was a couple of, you know, I don't think I'd go. You know what I mean? I had to. They did say, you know, so they said. I said, look, I was getting grabbed quite a bit, and I had to say to him, man, look, I'm here as a worker, and he had said to them all, you got to stop grabbing Daniel. He's just a driver, like. But yeah, it was interesting.
Because you always say them documentaries on like Channel 5 and that, you know, the dogging and that, you know, with the Fox Maxes and stuff like that, and none of them are good looking, are they? It's always like some like fat guy with his fat wife saying, "Oh, we're looking for a attractive female," and I thought, how many attractive females are going to go with like ugly couple? I just can't imagine. They called it a unicorn when a good-looking girl wants to swing because they're that rare. That's what, on that program, I've only watched that program, but
I didn't know what dogging was until I moved here. I'd never heard of it, and someone explained to me. They was like, "Oh, it's dogging." I was like, "I've never heard of it."
They do that in Tenerife, dogging.
I don't know. I'm not participated, but I'm fairly sure they do. I know there's actually a swingers club here, like.
Right.
And if I remember the name, it's Mystique is what it's called. Yeah, because I actually had to drive them to this swingers club, and I had to wait there. And I said I'll wait in the bus, and they said no, come up. And I went in, and it was a surreal experience for me. Like it wouldn't be my thing. I couldn't do it. Like, do you know what I mean?
Just weird with your missus, wouldn't it? Like, oh, who do you fancy shagging out of these? Like, you know what I mean? Like, imagine going home having a cup of tea, enjoy yourself, getting thing by lad, and you're like.
Well, I went. It was a lads. It was a single lads night that I went, and the lads would pay to go in, and they'd stand there, and you know, and that was it. They were single, and they got to be with other people's partners. I just found it surreal, and like I'm not like each to their own. It's just not for me. Like
that's why I'm like that. I'm not bothered either way, but I can remember when I was young and I worked in Blackpool as a personal trainer. Yeah. And there was a guy I used to train.
Yeah.
He was called John.
You've had a lot of jobs, man.
Oh, sacked from that as well. And then I was doing personal training with a guy called John. He's a dead nice fella. Yeah. But I don't think I'd ever really come around gay people before. Yeah. Where I was from, there wasn't any. And like I was talking with him non-stop, and he said you could stop at our B&B, but you probably won't like it. And I said, and then he said, oh, you can stop. And I got there, and the hotel was called Jim and John's. Yeah. Right? And I was going, Jim and John's? I said, oh, like that. And I said, oh, is that your brother? And then on the side, there was like a magazine with like naked fellas. And I was going, oh, what's this doing here? Like that. And then he was like, come to the bar with your top off at night and stuff like that. I was going, that's a weird sign to have up. And honestly, it took me about 15 minutes to find, it's gay this, isn't it? Honestly, it was that like, I was that deluded. And like, he was saying, I just didn't know what to say. John, he said like, but apparently like gay people know other gay people. Like I was saying, so did you know I wasn't gay? And he went, I'm not being you're not well kept enough for a gay guy like that.
But I don't know. It's changed a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. Like they said, like you can just tell, like you like sort of thing. So I was a bit offended. It's like if you go to a gay bar. I think the first time you go to a gay bar as a straight guy, you expect everyone hitting on you, don't you? Whereas no one.
No one's interested. Like
I was with my missus, I was nearly bending over by the end of it. It's going on, do you know what I mean? Like.
So. We digressed a lot there. So to kind of ask you, I guess you've done like shows with people. Yeah. I'm aware of some of them like Nigel Farage. What are the kind of moments that kind of stick out for you and all those different guests that kind of you think, whoa, that was, I'll never forget that.
Well, the thing with Nigel, what people won't realise, Nigel's an absolute fanny magnet.
Yeah.
Like Nigel, I'd say he gets the most female attention out of everyone I've done shows with.
Seriously?
Fanny magnet Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
Honestly, put him anywhere, women have thrown themselves at him.
Wow. I would never have thought that. Like,
you don't look at Nigel Farage and think sexy, do you?
No,
like,
you don't.
That wasn't what I thought.
I think annoying, to be honest with you. But
you put him in a room, women love him.
Yeah.
And he's one of them, and he can drink loads. Like I've played rugby for years.
Yeah.
I'd say Nigel Farage is the biggest drink I've ever drank with.
Seriously?
Honestly, because he'll start on like port, then the wine, then he'll have a few gins, stuff like that, and he can have like 10 of each. And at the end, he's still giving you facts about Brexit. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't seem to change.
It does
like,
get messier, no?
Not at all. No,
Wow.
it's just one, like, we were at Isle of Man, and I started drinking after him, so he'd been drinking for a few hours, and he put me to bed. Do you know what I mean? Like,
wow.
I like, he was just still going, and I like, everyone knows, I start slurring after my second pint.
Yeah.
Because I talk that fast, I think, because it hits you, like, I slur, and like, Nigel's still there at the end.
Wow.
I was looking for a dance floor, and he's talking about like figures and facts and stuff like that. And no, Nigel's one of them. But what people like, because I do comedy, it's not cool to say like I know Nigel is like a friend.
Yeah.
So like he come up to.
And what's it like? Obviously, he's your friend. Like, so is he a decent guy?
Spot on. That's what
Yeah.
I mean. Like he come up to Cumbria
Because he gets a lot of bad press. I mean, I don't know anything about him. I find him annoying to listen to sometimes, but you know, I don't know what he's like as a person.
He's one of them. Like I treat Nigel the same as I treat everyone else.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who were in the public like that. So like if Nigel says something I don't agree with, I'll just say,
Yeah.
don't agree with that, Nigel.
Yeah.
And I think because he's not probably got that many people like that, so he'd normally just have a laugh. Like
Yeah.
if I just say Nigel's here now, we probably wouldn't talk politics. He'd be talking about where's his swingers place, you know, like
Yeah.
joking and stuff like that. So I don't like. I'm not into politics. So
Yeah.
like when I say Nigel, it's just a few pints, having a laugh. And he's like,
You see a different side of him. Like.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, because I did quite a few shows with him, after a while, like, people can't put the guard up for that long.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So people are like, oh, you know, and you're like, I've been with his absolutely steaming, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. But he's just a nice fella. Like,
Yeah.
and people don't like hearing that. But I like Nigel's what it's like if someone said, what's Dan like? I'd say, oh, decent fella.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, you don't know. You know what I mean? Where
They
it's
don't
like,
know what he's really like.
yeah, you just take it on face value. People you meet, don't you? And Nigel's one of them, and he's pretty well off because I can
Yeah.
remember I had to transfer him some money, and he was with Coots, you know,
Yeah.
the bank, and where you
No.
need. Coots is a fancy bank in England, and
Yeah.
I think you need 5 million to open an account
Wow.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Because the girl I went to school with, she said, "Who do you know who's got a Coots banking?" Because I was so crap on my phone, I didn't even do online banking.
Yeah.
I used to go in. They used to hate me in the banking because I used to go in and do my online transfers in the bank. They put me. They
You
put
should be
time.
saying I'm keeping you in a job.
Well, they put time aside for someone to teach me how to use online banking because I was taking so much time at the bank. Because
Yeah.
every Monday I'd go in, like, fucking hell, he's here again. So
Yeah.
I'd go in a little room and like, can I have a £25 transferred over like that, and I'd just go through it.
You have a list of them, like.
Yeah, and
Oh, man.
by the end of it, they said we're going to put you on a cut. Like we're going to teach you how to do it. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're taking so much time in that West thing. So like,
Did you do a course on it? Like,
It wasn't
with
even
them?
a course. It was just like she said, right, we've got like they sort of ambushed me one day, and the two of them were like, John, this is how you do it. It's dead simple. Even someone like you could do it. You know what I mean? It felt like being back in special needs class, and like they were like, oh. So I used to go in every Monday, and the Coots one, they were like, oh, do you know we Coots? And like it's weird because you got to transfer money to someone like that, like Nigel Farage, and they were like, the Nigel, like that. And you're
Oh,
like,
yeah. I'd say
like,
there's an awkward moment there. Yeah.
you just feel
Why
like
are you
it.
sending them money?
yeah, you just and anything that you put on, like I used to do the adverts for the shows.
Yeah.
Facebook and all that blocks it because the class it is political posts
Yeah.
and stuff. So I had to send like my license to Facebook and your passport and stuff, and you're on like a different list of something weird. But Nigel's spot on, and he sells really well.
Yeah.
Like he before the show, he was doing £250
Yeah.
to have a meal with him.
Wow.
And there was like 20 people. They'd sell right away. Someone come from Africa for one of them.
Just have a meal with them.
Just have a meal with him, and it was only like fish and chips.
That's mental, no?
He just goes around, has crack with him, has a wine, has a bit of a laugh with him, and a lot of people come to the shows dressed as Nigel. So you'd
Seriously?
have like 18-year-old lads in tweed.
Seriously? like?
Yeah, honestly, like you just like, oh my god, you're like a mini Nigel. You know the clothes he wears because
Yeah.
he wears mental clothes, and you're like,
Yeah.
Nigel's the only person I know that wears yellow pants. Do
Yeah.
you know, like a pair of cord yellows, and people used to come dressed as him.
Wow.
So and there was like protesters at one.
Yeah.
I think it was Exmouth.
Yeah.
They're outside, but you didn't know they were protesters. They just looked like old women because they were that cold. They couldn't
Yeah.
hold the placards up because they were that cold. So it was just 6 old women outside. Like I didn't even know they were protesters.
Sounds like something out of Father Ted.
That's what I mean. That's what it looked like. They just
Down
stood
with
there.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought, what are you achieving here?
And who else have you had then that kind of stand out for you? Like
The one that didn't happen, but we had the
Yeah.
shows in. I think I can't remember. It was Steven Seagal.
Oh yeah, I'm aware you went looking for him, no?
And the guy who was sort of managing does his websites from England, and I met him. Great guy.
Yeah.
And then he said, and then Steven Seagal rang me, which is
Yeah.
weird because Steven Seagal talks like he does in the films.
Does he? Yeah.
Hey John, like like I was like, oh Stephen, all right, how you doing like that? He's got, and he said to do the deal, he wanted to look me in the eye.
Yeah.
I want to do the deal, looking like is
Yeah.
if you're on a film. I was like, oh yeah. He said, come to my this place in Moscow just outside
Yeah.
on Sunday.
Wow, Russia.
This was like Monday.
Yeah.
How do you get to Russia? And you need like a pass.
Yeah, you need to get, so you have to get your way in. You have to get, it's like an entrance pass.
Like a visa.
Yeah, like a visa,
of,
but it's slightly different, no?
Well, he worked for the Russian government, so he was pushing it through.
What's he doing for the Russian?
He's foreign envoy or something like that. Because when the letter come through, he said, because you've got to say where you're stopping at in Russia.
Yeah.
And it was weird because he booked us a hotel room and it was £8,000 a night, right?
Whoa.
And I was like, I don't know if he's paying
He
for
must
that.
be a spy.
Well, I thought, I don't know if he's paying for that or me. And I was that freaked out because I thought, this will bankrupt me, this. I went on booking.com and found somewhere in Moscow.
I only need one night.
Yeah, I just went on and I booked for somewhere for 42 quid.
Yeah.
Because you had to say where you were stopping for part of your visa thing. And I went to Manchester to do this visa pass, and they're dead suspicious. If you're going to Russia, it's weird. Like
I can imagine, yeah.
And they said the only way this will go
How
through...
long ago was this? Sorry to interrupt you.
About 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
All right.
And he said the only way this will go through is if you go to London and get it stamped.
Yeah.
So I went down to London, and I had rugby shorts on like this.
Yeah.
Carry a bag. I had midget gems in my carry bag and a rugby paper. And I thought you go to the Russian foreign... What's the Russian...
Embassy.
Embassy.
Yeah.
I thought you meant to go there. You're not. So I went to the embassy, Russian embassy. They had machine guns and that. And I just had a carry bag. And I was like, I've come to get something stamped. And the guy was going, looked at us like... And then I showed him the thing from Steven Seagal because that's got the Russian stamp on it. They were like, let him in. So I got through the security in the embassy. So I just walked in like this. And I went through this like machine thing, like a metal detector.
Yeah.
And they put my bag on the table. All my sweets, my wine gums went all over the table like that. Like I remember just like scraping them in. But it was all like agents and that, like special service. So everyone had guns and that. I was just doing my gems like that. Put me in my bag and I sat there. And this fella come out and like talked to us in Russian. Like, dead aggressive. And I was like, English just come to stamp. And he went back. This other fella come and done the same in Russian. Then this woman come out, and everyone in the whole embassy were just like looking at me because, like, obviously, like, I'm not the type of person that don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And they went, "What are you doing here?" And like, I went, come to get this stamp. They went, "You go to like the pass office. You don't come to the embassy like that." Like, honestly, I've never.
What was the guys doing letting you in?
Because it had that stamp from the Russian government, so you just seen it and just let us in.
In you go, like.
And then they were like, "Oh yeah," and then I just went to like the normal like the passport place, and got it stamped, and then went over to Russia. But Russia,
What was Russia like?
class,
Yeah.
yeah, they just don't drink that much,
Yeah.
which is weird because I was just.
You think the vodka, yeah?
Well, every bar I went in, if you had 2 pints, they were like the manager would come over like, "Sure you want any more?"
Right.
So that's why I always have 2 in each one because like felt like an alcoholic because they were just like, "You sure you want any more?" And in Russia, they don't smile in public as much.
Yeah.
Because in Russia,
colder look about them.
yeah, because if you're walking around like smiling like I do, that's classed as like you're special. You know, like
Right,
special
okay.
people just laughing all day because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So when I was going on them escalators, got the biggest escalators in the world, haven't they, the subways? I was like smiling at my missus is the same. People just looking at you as if like, what is wrong with them people like that? And you just stuck out like a sore thumb. But the Russian people were great. I thought it was like, if you get a chance to go to Moscow, like that.
Yeah, I'd
Red
love
Square,
to go, man. It's some place I really would love to go.
just dead interest. Like I'm into all that sort of crack. And where I met him at was just outside Moscow, and I can't remember what the name is, but it's where like Putin's got a house there. He's pointing out Putin's house.
No way.
Like armed guards and these other bits and that. Well, he picked us up in this government car. So he said,
That's mad that he's working for the government.
"Swear, like he sent a government car to pick
It's
us up."
strange, no?
The guy off like. What's it? The Matrix, you know them fellas in black suits.
Yeah.
2 of them pulled up, right?
Agents.
They in a black car, and Steven Seagal's ear was saying, "John, they'll be there now." And I was like, "Oh," and I went off, and Nigel just put his hand on my chest like that, and he was going, like, you know, no photos or something like that.
Yeah.
But in like broken English, Russian, and I was like, "Oh." And I rang. I was like, "Stephen, hi."
Some guys pinned me to the.
And then Lado just like honestly, it was like a Terminator. Just looked around. He's gone. I just got in the car. Me and my missus didn't speak because it felt like it was like it just felt like a weird. He didn't speak.
That freaked me out properly.
An hour we drove from outside of
No
Moscow
way.
to the thing.
And you didn't talk to each other, didn't talk to
I
him,
was
just sitting there.
Just like that. And I thought we could be like getting taken or something. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was going to be on hostel.
We ain't going home.
Yeah, and then just went in this restaurant. The weirdest thing though, going in the restaurant saying reservation for Steven Seagal. Like that's I had to go in and say that. And there was only he booked the whole place out. So when
That's
he come in,
mad, innit?
and is it honestly it's about like how tall are you?
I'm 6'5".
He's tall. He's like nearly as tall as this building.
Wow.
He's massive. He shook my hand and I nearly hit the roof because he's got like Aikido. I think the strength of wrists and stuff like that. And nearly hit the roof, and it was just dead weird for me to sat there with him. But he was quite comical, really. But just anyone that famous, they're damaged, aren't they? Like you're just like too famous, aren't you?
Well,
Like,
it's like two things. Like he's super famous, and the other thing is he's working for the Russian government, which is interesting. Like I'd love to. Did you ask? Obviously, it's not. Why are you working for the Russian government?
Well, I think I'm sure it was like American envoy or so. He's got an official title with the Russian government because he had this little book and he was like using a stamp. Because that's obviously why I got in the embassy and stuff like that. But I don't know what he does. But he used to leave voice notes, and I tried to save them all. Yeah. So he used to show folk and that. And it's just weird because he talks exactly the same as he does. That's mad.
And did you make the deal with him? Or?
Yeah, he was going to come over. He was going to do 5 shows or something like that. Yeah. And I can't remember. It might have been COVID. I can't remember why it didn't happen. There was some reason he had a film or something like that. But he was probably the most like unique one.
That whole situation, actually going to Russia, then taking off in like the bus and brought in there, and then ending up like literally in a restaurant on your own with Steven Seagal. Well, he said the fact that he's working for that, the whole thing sounds mental. Like, well,
when he first come in, he said, "Oh, I'll have to swap seats because I've got to keep eyes on the doors from the CIA days."
That's freaky.
I don't know if he was in the CIA.
He's joking or whether he's just.
There
was no like laughter about it.
No.
That's mad.
Because he was talking about like machine guns or something, and because he was showing you, is it the Dash Hound? I can't remember what the spot's called. Dead rich place. Because Russia's weird. You have like a convertible Lamborghini and a ladder. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's like such
the
a
contrast.
So
of money and poverty, like
there, like he was talking about. There's Putin lived there, and a few other people like. What was that guy that owned Chelsea? He had like a building.
Abramovich.
He used to own something around there, and he was just explaining like, I think if you got money, this is the area you go to, sort of thing. But no, it was weird for me because
great experience to have though.
Oh, that's what I mean. I like, even though the shows didn't have like class having him as a WhatsApp friend. Yeah,
it's mad. Like I just mentioned Stephen, you know.
Well, I got absolutely steaming one night, and I was watching what was that film he did? Under Siege.
Yeah.
Steven took a photo of it. Steve, class, and he went, "Oh, cheers, John." I thought, oh, you know, when you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh, how embarrassing.
I should never have sent that. Like,
never have sent that. That's what I mean. Like, I just thought, oh, why have I sent that? How embarrassing.
Cool that he replied. A lot of people wouldn't bother. Like,
he put like cheers and a. It's very like, is it Buddhist?
Spiritual Buddhism. Yeah. Interesting.
So it does that sort of thing. But no, and I'm trying to think of
who else have you had?
I met Charlie Sheen in London. Yeah. But it was weird because I had pneumonia at the time. Right. And I kept thinking, fucking hell, because I think that's bad for AIDS, isn't it, if you got AIDS? And I can remember thinking, how many other times I'm going to get Charlie Sheen? I felt dead bad. I thought, oh, God. I tried not to, like, breathe on him or something like that. But he was dead spot and he was dead normal.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen, he was just there. And I think that was just before COVID, so it just didn't happen. Because he was going to come over. They do the Comic-Cons.
Yeah.
So what I try and do is tie him in with a show while they're here.
Yeah.
And just do it that way. And the sportsmen are just anyone, really.
Yeah.
But it's
who was the most interesting out of all the sports people you've had? Like,
I did like 50 odd with Eddie.
Yeah.
So I did quite a lot with Eddie, and I've got the Stortman brothers coming up. They're gonna do some. So we've got the first one in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. Eddie was good, and I liked rugby, so I played rugby. So like Jason Robinson was like an idol when you were growing up. So Jason was class, and it just depended. Like I've did the bike guys, and I don't like bikes, but I found that interesting. Like the TT, like Ian Hutchison, where he broke his leg.
What a road racer, man. Unbelievable.
How many times he flies helicopter now?
Yeah?
Yeah, so he's got his own helicopter. So he rents that out and that pays for it. And I was saying, like, you're just trying to kill yourself because it's like the most dangerous bikes, most dangerous helicopter. But how many times he broke his leg? It was like held together with like wood and that, wasn't it? And
it's insane though. But they're driving the TTs at breakneck speeds, like, you know. I guess the next thing, because obviously the way that like you were introduced to me by the lads and that was TikTok and your shorts and the hardest man in Britain thing. Like, how did that kind of? How did you come up? How long has that been going for? And what kind of brought you to come up with that idea and put that out there? Like,
well, I used to write with Dave Spikey. We were trying to get a sitcom on telly.
Yeah.
And back in the day, like BBC would say, "Oh, it's good, but it needs this, and it just felt like you were never going to get it on."
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, we could just put our own shorts on. And that's why now, like, we've been approached by loads of different people to, like, do bits. And I like the fact that you can just do it yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, you're waiting. Like, I would like to do, like, a long-form one. But the videos, I've done it like now I'm settled down, married and stuff.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, like I used to drink, and sometimes like I'd go and drink for like 3 days. You'd wake up in a field. You can't be putting stuff on videos online and that when you're an absolute state yourself, can you? So like I would say I've settled down slightly now, and now it's better to put it on and like you can deal with it and sort of thing. Whereas when I was younger, I couldn't deal with, because every time you drank, like I'm one of them, like I just want to hide in a dark place, and like every time your phone goes, I feel oh my god, like that. Whereas now, if you had the videos and that online, people
it's mad. I think back to when I was younger. If anyone, like, I'm glad, like when I was partying, there was no kind of proper video cameras. And I have a mate of mine. He's really well known. I'm not mentioning his name, but he said to me, he says, "Yeah, man, I go out on the Raz for like I disappear for a couple of days, and afterwards, he's sitting in his house googling his own name, to see has anything come up of he's done, like that someone's taken a photograph of him getting up to this or whatever it is." And he says, "I'm literally bricking it because I'm googling my name over and over and over again, see if anything's come up that I've done." Like,
well, it's the same with fame. Like I'm not bothered about being fit. Like I do them shows with people, and not one bit of me thinks, "Oh, I'd love to be getting hassled for selfies every 2 minutes." You know what I mean? Like I'm not bothered about, like, I just like it because I like doing comedy and stuff. So it's not like I talked to someone from America who wanted to like do lol bits and stuff like that. Whereas like I don't push myself to be on telly, so I'll not do 8 out of 10 cats or anything. Not that being asked, but you know what I mean. Like I'm not. A lot of comedians just want to get on telly, where I'm the opposite. Whereas like I would write for TV, but I don't think I want to be on it.
You don't want the hassle. Do you get it since you put the TikToks out? Like I'm gonna say on a smaller level, I did my YouTube channel. I started to get recognized a lot, and I was doing YouTubes with a guy called the MacMaster and stuff. And I remember I used to have people constantly. I still get stopped now and again, and sometimes I'd be fine. At the first, I was like, "Yeah, this is cool," and then after a while, I was struggling with it because, you know, I feel like being just swallow me up world, like getting identified in an airport or something like this. Like, do you find now that happens to you a lot, and how do you deal with it? Like,
oh, it's not exactly a lot, but it doesn't bother us at all, really. The first couple of, like you said, the first couple of times, like, are you sure you got the right person? Yeah, you're a lad, and you're like, oh yeah, you want to fuck with me? Like, to me, it's just like, why would you? You know what I mean? But it's just everyone likes something different, don't they? Yeah. Being a northern idiot. Some people like it, don't they? There's obviously some will hate it as well, but it doesn't bother us out like that. I like having the crack and stuff like that, so I'll probably do their Reddit more than they do mine in. Because I'm like interested in talking to people and stuff, so it just depends. If they're drunk though, like you say, if there's like the bouncers ones, I think it was Durham or somewhere. Like I was out and there was like a big group of like 20 lads and they loved it. Yeah, they were an absolute nightmare. Yeah. But just because, like, oh, we'll go here with you, and you're like, oh, you're out with your missus, you know, like out for a meal, and you're like, oh, I've got 20 like drunk lads. Like,
just trying to get photographs with you and giving you abuse.
How big's your back? You're like, oh, it's massive. You know, like, because that one, like, saying my back's too big for tattoos.
Yeah, that's class, man. That's a really good one. Like
the abuse you get, well, not the abuse, but the amount of people like use that voiceover and put it on their videos. Like, I just find that weird. Like people in America, like doing a gym session with like my horrible voice over it. You know what I mean? And you think, oh, who would like that? But
it's cool though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, well, I think it's because it's dead like relatable. Yeah. So like the bouncers, you'll know someone who thinks they're rock hard when they shouldn't be.
That's me.
Like you'll talk to people like it's weird. I'll talk to people now and they're like, that's my age. You're like, you're 40. Like, when are you going to grow up saying you're the hardest your age and stuff like that? And like, no one wants to talk about someone who's rock hard. They're like, if you're on a night out, people are like, but not look at me. Yeah. God. But there's from where I'm from, because it's like a little town. Yeah. It's that sort of mentality. Like
it's the same growing up where it was like, who's the hardest lad? And you're like, when I grew up, I was always looking up to the lad that could scrap the most people and fight the most. And I thought, he's the man. I want to be that fella. Like, you know, I want to be the hardest bastard in the town. Like, but it's just nonsense, really. You kind of go out of it, like, you know.
Well, the bouncer stuff as well. Like most bouncers, 99% of them are spot on. They laugh at all the skits because everyone knows a bouncer that's took it up and maybe only done it for a few weeks. Yeah. Where they're acting like Steven Seagal and they're like, oh, things I've seen. And you're like, you're working on Red Lion in Whitehaven.
And it kicks off, right? I used to DJ for years, and you get this lad, he's all talk, right? Oh, and a big hair, man, and all this. And I'd be DJing, I can see what's going on. And then a row kicks off. And he's literally trying to find a place where it looks like he can't see the fight. And the lads that are actually, they're in on top of it and they're getting the guy out, whereas he's like, oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, and you always, and eventually they leave, like, because they're afraid of actually getting in a fight, you know?
Well, that's the thing. Anyone I've met who's really hard, never tell you they're hard. No, it's like anyone I've met who's really rich, don't tell me they're really rich. But I've got these people like on Facebook, like, oh, feeling blessed with all the possessions I've bought at Christmas and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Whereas like people are really well off will never mention that they're well off. Do you know? Well, that's what I've found, anyways.
Yeah, and then you're talking insanely wealthy. I was listening to again Joe Rogan. He was talking about when you're trying to. And I'm guilty of some nice guy like me cars and toys. Well, like they say that people are just stepping into like millionaires or billionaires. They're buying all these fancy cars and Lambos and all this sort of stuff. And then the really rich, the way that they kind of prove how wealthy they are is by pointless pieces of art that aren't worth nothing and spend crazy amounts of money on just to show I have that much money, it doesn't really matter, you know, and it's just an insane world. It doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day, you know.
Well, it's one of them. Sometimes people like some people do like the cars and stuff like that, but there's a portion of people because of social media doing it for other people.
Yeah.
So like Dubai. Probably don't even like Dubai, but it looks good on socials, doesn't it? Whereas, like, I'm one of them. I've got Tenerife.
Yeah.
Like, I sometimes look at Dubai, and I think they're just kidding themselves sometimes. Like, I think that just looks horrendous.
But the prices, like,
yeah.
of everything is insane. It doesn't really appeal to me going to Dubai.
I went Albania this year in the summer.
What was that like?
Good.
Yeah.
It's like up and like I went to Croatia.
Don't be
ago.
advertising it here. Everyone should come to Tenerife.
Well, Albania, everyone always says, I thought they were the ones who were sneaking into England, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm the only one that went the other way.
Yeah.
But you can get we got like an apartment on the beach, your own bit of beach, and that's £54 a night.
Wow.
It's like a 5-star apartment, class. And then, like, I bet in 5-6 years that'll be the place to go, Albania. But obviously, it's still a bit
It won't be. It'll be always Tenerife.
Well, that's
you know, there can only be one place to go. That's Tenerife.
Well, our price is Tenerife in the summer and that now, though, because we looked. That was the week we looked, and we're like, it was August. Kids are off and stuff like that. So, I bet this year I went to Romania, Albania. If there's been a war recently, I've probably been all older there. Because it's like Iraq. I bet that's got a good party scene soon.
Myself and Colin were actually saying we'd love to. It's something we've been planning to do, just getting the time, is we want to just fly to random places and just do like a vlog going there and do like the best and the worst restaurant in the town and just like vlog the trip over there. So I think Albania is going to be one
honestly,
on
it's
the
class.
list.
What
do you think, Carl? Carl's written it down. Albania, we're going.
It's cheap when you're there as well, and like, it's a dead nice place. Like I had a taxi, got the taxi from the airport to the south where the beaches were.
Yeah,
3 hours and 20 minutes, and it cost €80.
Wow.
And the guy he brought us back and that as well. And
was the food good?
Yeah, food was great. That's what I mean. Everything. Have a look on. Castmil is like, it looks like the Maldives.
Yeah.
The bit of the beach and stuff. Have a look on. It's a weird spot to say you go on, but I'm one of them. I always like have a look to see where
trying
different
new places.
spots.
Like.
Yeah.
But obviously, always return to Tenerife.
Oh, I come to Tenerife, I'd say once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Just because I love coming, have a few. It's one of them for me, like, because I drink. I know you lot don't drink anymore, but
if I could have a drink, I'd love to have a drink. But the problem is when I drink, I break out in violence.
Yeah, it's the same with some of my mates that stop drinking because they have Coke. As soon as they drink, they have Coke. So it's like a knock-on effect, isn't it? So like, luckily for me, I just act like a moron when I drink. So it's not as dangerous for me. Yeah. And if my missus is there, she keeps an eye on it and sort of thing. And she's just trying to drag you home anytime. But get yourself the Gaelic corn and stuff like that.
100%.
Yeah.
So if like... firstly, thanks a million, man, for coming on.
No, I know it's been good.
And sorry for all the hiccups we've had, cameras turning off, we've had trying to set up. I guess most people know who you are, but if someone wanted to find you, like, where's the best place to find you? On YouTube or TikTok or
just
whereabouts?
Just put John Lebbon in, it normally comes up, and just them videos and stuff. And if you like northern humour or someone acting daft, it's like we do the Walter guy.
Yeah.
Did you have Walters in Ireland?
No, do we? I don't remember. Colin, do we have Walters in Ireland? Yeah.
You know the guys that were like, okay, hold on side.
Oh, what? Oh, waltzers.
Yeah, you know the guys that work on
yeah.
Like that one did really
the
well.
guy that was like, you thought like the friend to be like the hardest fella and you go in there in the waltzer and he's like spinning it for you there. And
well, he'd have his cap on, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
and
and
stuff
just
like that,
super
spinning,
cool, like
sleeping with kids because they're always hitting on like 13-year-old girls, weren't they? And you're like, how old are you? 20 odd, and like, okay, hold on tight, here we go. It's always like that, wasn't it? And I learned to do that voice in school because the lasses used to fancy the Walters guy.
So you were like, that was your way of chatting them up.
You can't drop that in any conversation, though, can you? That voice, no. If you're in school, you'd be like, "Okay, pass the crayons." You know, it just doesn't sound right, does it? And like, I just remember thinking, it's like I can remember in school, I learned to do the Ali G thing.
Yeah.
In school.
Oh yeah. I could never. All my mates could do that. I could never do it. And I was like, it's a clicking out. I'd be like trying to flick my finger and all that.
No, it's a whip.
A whip.
Yeah, and I can remember a teacher saying, John, stop putting your time into that. It's going to go nowhere. And she was absolutely right. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. That's brought you a long way here, eh?
Well, Walt, acting like a wanker online.
It's worked out for you, though, hasn't it?
That's what I mean. I suppose it has. But it's like your parents that don't have a clue, do they? Like, some people just think, I don't know. But
what's next? Just before we wrap it up, what's next for you? What's your plans now?
I'm going to do an hour stand-up show. So
Yeah.
I've been doing stand-up for 10 years. I should really have an hour together, but I want it to be good.
Yeah.
So I'm about 40 minutes into it now. So I'm putting that together, an hour show. We're doing a live show with the sketches, but like a mixture of stand-up and some unseen videos. That we've got the first one in Cumbria, which is sold out.
Yeah, well done.
So like the live stuff, and I would like to do like either a film, or a sitcom, but do it yourself.
Yeah.
So like it's not like going for the BBC where they're like, oh, come on guys, we need a trans person in here with 2 more black people. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
just do it the way you want to do it.
Just do it like how you want to do it.
There was I don't know if you've ever heard of it. The Hardy Books. Colin would know them.
Yeah.
Colin did a little bit of work. I don't know if you ever seen them. The Hardy Books. That they did something similar to that, and then it ended on TV afterwards, which I thought was really cool. Like something like that.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
Like, exactly like just like. If you were from a town like that, you just relate to it, don't you? The mates that are never getting a job. That mate that's an alcoholic.
Fighting, drinking, smoking.
Yeah, hitting on girls that look like they're off the hills of eyes and stuff like that. Just dead relatable. Put a few of the characters in, so you could have the bouncers, you could have like a few of the people in there, and because the sitcom we had, it was basically about like true story about me and our mates and stuff. And so the sitcom was good. Like Dave Spikey at the time, he was a BAFTA winner. He'd had Phoenix Nights, he'd had other stuff, and he still wasn't getting made. Yeah. So that's why, I just thought, anytime, I think we got approached to put something in for the BBC. They were doing this online thing, and I just thought, you look at what BBC putting out now. I can't imagine me being like that guy. They're like, oh, this is what we want on. It just isn't. Yeah. They're not going down that route, either. Of like, it's all.
Well, I think legacy media is dying, anyways.
It is.
I think that most people these days, they look at. I mean, more TikTok than anything else, or I mean, YouTube to an extent, but the younger people are all on, and it's a lot of short form video as well. Like, I think that's, you could literally put out a sitcom out there on YouTube or wherever you want, and people are going to more likely, you'd probably get way more views than you'd ever get if it went on to BBC, or.
Well, you'd rather have a big following now online than like if just had a sitcom on BBC Two on a Thursday night. I think you wouldn't get as many views as you do putting videos out.
100%.
Like you put a video on, some of them will have like a couple of million views. That's more than any sitcoms getting on TV.
Which is insane when you think about it.
It's just weird how now all you need is a phone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And just act like a moron. But it's weird what people like, isn't it? Like it's just surprised me every time. You're like, got a guy that's reviewing crisps. People love it, and you're like, everyone's niching down into what they like.
Do you ever see that Rate My Takeaway?
Yeah.
Fella? He just goes around with a
fucking seat.
Huge, like.
Yeah, just
massive, like huge on every level, but like he's massive from it, like big money over.
Like you would never think. I tell you what, a Yorkshire guy, overweight Yorkshire guy, sitting outside takeaways, is going to be popular, would he? Imagine pitching that to a TV company.
Yeah, like that's not going to work.
No, and it obviously does, doesn't it? But I'm one of them. I'm always just surprised, like what works. Yeah. Like I'm going to start doing the vlogs. I should have done them years ago, but I'm one of them. Like as soon as I get a camera out, and there's people like, oh.
I'm the same. Like I did a quite good few vlogs for a while, and the flights were the worst because the flights. Funny enough, flights do insane amount of views, like compared to every other one you do. Flights and food. Yeah. So, like flying on a plane was grand. I'd be like building myself up to putting the camera up with someone sitting to my left and going, "Oh yeah, I'm just on a flight. I'm just on my way to Ireland. It's a nice easy ride or whatever, And I was just absolutely bricking it. I found it really, really hard to do. Or even walking through an airport, like talking to a camera.
Yeah. The only spot I didn't mind doing it, and I didn't even vlog it, was just the videos in Japan. Yeah. Because no one could speak English, so I didn't feel as bad doing it there. But even then, they just look at you like, what are you doing with your life? That feeling of just like, what are you doing? Look at this foreigner, you know what I mean? And there was a few times in Japan I didn't mind it as much, but soon, like, I should be doing like sketches here. Yeah. But as soon as someone goes, wait until I go. Yeah. And I would have to be doing it in like dead streets and stuff like that. But some people just aren't bothered. The lad that do it with Gavin. Yeah. Gavin would just do it naked on that street and he couldn't care less. And he's got a job.
It's mad, isn't it?
Whereas I'm like, oh no, it's people here. people like that. And
at home. So if I was in my hometown, I'd really struggle.
Yeah.
Say for here, I find it a little bit easier but more and more so, I'm more like know people here than I do back home. But back home, when I brought out the vlogging camera and I'm sitting there going, you know, and I've gone around with, for example, the MacMaster, and he's like, so you'd be sitting there having a chat with him, and he's about to do his video, and he goes, "All right, folks," and he's like full on, and you're sitting there, and you know that everyone's watching, like, because he's loud, and you're sitting there going, and it takes a while to kind of. I was fine here in Tenerife, I find another location, but the minute he came to my hometown, we did a load of videos there. I was just mortified, like, you know, because he's got a character. Well, he's not that off. Like,
some people are cheesy now, and you think, how do you do that? Like you say, like him, like, okay, guys, here we are. Whoa, what are we doing here? Like, and you're like, how can you do that? Whereas I kind of like, hi guys, I'm in Tenerife, like that. And I think it's one of them, like, I want to put out stuff I like when I watch videos. So when people go around the pubs and that, I want to see what the nightlife's like and stuff like that. Whereas a lot of people get too self-absorbed, like, guys, I've had a bad day today. Like, I want to see you around pubs. Don't need this. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that'll definitely work. Like, people love to see play. Like, I think people like to, in some way, be immersed in stuff that they're maybe missing. For example,
if you sat on the sofa, you think, I wonder what's happening in the Gaelic corner while it's raining in England, isn't it? And stuff like that, and just whack that on. So
people love lives as well. That's what I found. Is people, when I was doing lives, you got a lot of views from lives. People love the interaction. You know,
who's the guy around here that does the lives? I've seen it pop up.
Night Strider.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, Sunday lunch today. Like,
they love it, man.
And they absolutely. That's what I mean. You look underneath, you think 40,000 people's watching this, or watched it, or whatever.
Yeah, or he'd have maybe 2,000. I've done videos with Andrew. I don't really talk to him that much anymore, but he would have maybe 2,000 people watching his live. Like, it's insane. Like, and dropping money.
Yeah.
You know, drop money. Like, say, here's 20 quid. You know, donation towards your food. Like,
it's the same with the
Scotsman in Tenerife.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine, Kevin,
Yeah,
he's I did one of these with him, Kevin, actually.
Yeah.
Good guy. But he's saying people just watch it.
Just wandering around. It doesn't even edit it, does it? You see him putting the finger on, like turning the camera around and stuff like that. Just puts it out.
But he works so hard, man. That fella is flying everywhere. And I have to say, what an absolute gentleman. Really, really
never
down
stops
to
talking either. Like, I'm surprised. Like, he'll walk and he'll never stop talking. Whereas, like, me, I'm like, beach, shops. Whereas he's like, oh, that shop coming in. Like, it's really.
But he knows it all as well. Like, I went out with him, did a live with him, and I was like, he knows everything about all these places. I'm living here, I don't know none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And when with Kevin, like, when I met Kevin first, he was at under 1,000 subscribers, and he was reviewing our channel. So he reviewed my channel, reviewed someone else's channel, reviewed MacMaster, reviewed Night Strider, and then we met. We went for coffee, and he was like doing videos of and he'd say nothing. I said, Kevin, you need to get yourself in front of the camera, and then and Kevin has just gone, like, he's just, now I think it's his full-time job now. He flies all over doing that.
Well, I see pop up on YouTube. He's in Lanzarote and stuff like that. And I always look at stuff like that and I think, I wonder if he's married. Has he got a job or all like that? Or like,
yeah, he's married. He was on here. One of the things no-go for him was talking about his family on the thing. Like, but he absolutely, like, really nice guy. There's a good. This became like a bit of a mecca for YouTubers, Tenerife.
Yeah.
Because of Lee. Lee came over here to MacMaster, and he just pushed it. And I don't know if you've heard of Walk With Me Tim. He's like nearly, I think he's up near the 500,000 subs now. No. He came in here, when I met him first, he had like 30,000 subs, and he's just, his presentation of his videos could be like television. Yeah. And the way he presents it, but also the way he edits it. The Science Park video he did here was probably the best Science Park video I've ever done, but like, it's a whole different world. The way these guys get on, they make good money out of it. Like, and a lot of them just love it and just do it anyways. There's him, there's the Scotsman Tenerife. There's another guy called Cole's Place, who actually I'm chatting to tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow Saturday he's gonna be on the podcast as well. You know, so I got into the vlogging as well, but it's like, it's a lot of work, man.
I was going to say, it's like anything else, isn't it? If you're not putting all your time into it, if someone is putting all that, they're going to get more rewards, aren't they? Stuff like that. That's why, like, until I had time, I thought, you're not really doing that. But same when we did the podcast, we're doing like a podcast every year. Yeah. And you're like, some people doing 4 or 5 a week. And
it needs to be full on, like, and that's where I'm trying to, same with this is the 3rd one I've done now, and I'm trying to just build a podcast. And I like it more because what I found with the vlogging is my name was the Crackmaster, because I was on MacMaster, and then people said, make him the Crackmaster, and then I took it on, and then yeah, it was all right. And then I was like, and I had to be this character all the time when I was doing the vlog, and then that's why I kind of changed the whole thing to just.
You've got to be cheesy though, haven't you? Like,
yeah, you've got to be full on. Yeah.
I don't know. Like to me, like hi guys, and welcome to the. Like I just, it makes me skin crawl when I do it or like that. And
yeah, when I'm doing it as well, I'm like, oh, I feel awkward doing this. You know, I just rather just.
I hate looking at myself as well. That's the worst thing. The worst thing about doing these videos is having to look at yourself. So every time I'll open that phone there, and you're like, oh God. Like, because you never used to just look at yourself all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I was one of them. I never hardly had any photos. Didn't have Instagram, didn't have TikTok.
Yeah.
It wasn't really social media sort of thing. Whereas now you're like, oh. And you get insecurities you didn't even know you had.
Yeah.
I didn't know my ears were terrible. So I started putting the videos out.
Oh, your ears are good, man.
Oh, apparently they're massive. They were saying, never mind his back being massive. What about them ears? And I was like, oh, I didn't
It's
know
funny.
yet.
Do you read the comments?
I read through them, but it doesn't bother me that much, the bad ones, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like I used to say, like Eddie Hall would get like 6,000 comments, and there'd be one calling him a fat cunt, and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm a fat cunt," and you're like, and he used to say, he said it's weird because you're just focusing on negativity, and I took that that's why like I don't put anything with my family online or out like that. Like no one would even know if you're married or out like that because. There's no benefit in it. Like you put a picture of your dog on, and people start saying your dog's ugly.
They love saying horrible things, man. And like I struggle with that a lot as well. It kind of stopped me from doing it as well. I just hated negativity, but now I try not to read them. Sometimes they pop up. But Lee was here, the MacMaster, and we sat here on his channel and we read out the worst comments. And the way he's done it now is he's literally said, "Right, no problem. I'll make money from you." So he literally take the comments, read them out. It would take, I think it took us about half an hour or more to read all the comments. They were funny, some really abusive comments towards him. Yeah. And he's made money off that video. Probably made about $1,000 off the video. And then he says, "Thanks very much. You've literally made me money. I appreciate it. Keep throwing the comments at me," which was a nice twist to that, like, you know.
No, well, most of ours, because ours is comedy.
Yeah.
And we're not really, like, offensive. We're not targeting any. It's like when we do the gangster stuff, we're not saying, "Oh, this is that gangster, we're taking the piss." It's just a variation.
Yeah.
Same with the bounce.
You wouldn't want to do that, really, would you?
No, that's what I mean. It's just sort of one of them. But it's just there is a lot of liars on there, isn't there? Like, I think we killed that genre.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say about a year and a half ago, there was loads of gangster podcasts were everywhere, weren't there?
Yeah,
and then
massively.
We started taking the piss out of it. And I feel like we've killed it. Because you don't see them anymore, do you? Like,
no.
like just same with Stop Oil. We started doing sketches on Stop Oil. I feel like we killed them. So we're just saying, like, better watch what we do because I feel like we're killing genres of stuff. And
no, fire away, man. They're funny. They're very, very funny. Keep it up, like.
Well, the gangster ones, it's just weird how many people think it's serious. That's how bad.
That's mad, isn't it? Though that they're like Colin was telling me that you were saying to me as well, but that people have actually taken that as real in America, and you've been asked to do. One of you was asked to do a book.
Gavin does it better than me. Because Gavin looks like that type as well. Like he's got the full sleeve and stuff like that. And we'd done it outside the caravan, so it was UK's hardest man. It's had like I think it's like 9 million on Facebook and so many million on Instagram. But a publisher got in touch saying, "Oh, we would really like to bring this story to life." We did a bio about him, and like I was showing, Gavin's got a normal job. People don't realise Gavin's not a comedian.
Was he not tempted to play it on like?
Oh well, it obviously they'll probably went online and thought, "Oh my God," because it says comedy all over the page, and that, doesn't it? And I didn't reply, but I was saying to Gavin, I said, "That's how like." And there's a couple of American gangsters that have reviewed the video saying he was not a shot call in San Quentin and stuff like that. You're like, "Oh my!" And there's no bars in San Quentin, so he couldn't have bent them. And you're like, "That's the bit you're taking out this story." Like like these ex-gangsters are like watching the video, so they'll do a video of watching that video and saying,
calling you out on it, like
saying, "No, he couldn't have been a shot caller then because he was there." And you're like, "He hasn't even been to America, Gavin. Never mind, like being a shot caller in the jails and stuff like that." But no, it's comical. Like I think he said he like Superman punched someone and then kicked a knife into someone's eye. Yeah. Now he's called Cyclops Steve and he's his best mate. And like just loads of shite on shite, and people just believe it. It's just weird.
It's mad, isn't it? Like
I think it's because there's a fine line now, isn't there, between like the proper gangsters lying and the ones that we're doing. And but no, it's bizarre. Gavin does it way better than me. He does like a traveller guy and stuff like that. And I've done a couple.
Actually, Traveller is like a risky one to do on. Has he had any grief from it?
No. Well, we're up in that area, like near Appleby.
Right. Okay.
So that's where all the travellers meet.
Yeah.
So like I did John Fury shows.
Yeah.
I did Tyson Fury's. So they're not offended by.
And Tyson, you met him obviously.
Yeah.
Nice fella.
Dead nice fella. Yeah. I didn't meet him for long, but you know what I mean.
Who's bigger, Seagal or Fury?
A Fury's taller.
Is he? Yeah.
He's like a mountain, isn't he?
What was like? I say his hand is massive, shaking his hand, big lad, like.
Yeah. Well, I've got a photo with him, and I look like I've won a competition.
Yeah.
You know, like he's like I look like you know when a footballer walks out with a child.
Yeah.
I look like I've just won a competition to have that photograph.
Fury's mascot.
That's honestly just looks. And John's a big fella. He's got a bigger back than me.
He's some character, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
There's actually someone with a bigger back than you.
Honestly, that's why you'll have to move that camera back.
Yeah. We had to bring in a special chair for him and all, like.
Move that camera well back. The amount of grief I get over that, honestly.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, but fair play, man, unbelievable. Listen, like you're on holidays, which genuinely means the world that you came and spent some time, and I really enjoyed the chat, brother. And we'll have to get you back again sometime again.
No, I'm always here.
And hopefully all is working.
Yeah. No, it's ideal. Yeah. Get yourself on Tenerife Excursions.
No plug there at all.
Yeah.
Or chill box.
Yeah.
Listen, I hope to get you back. Thanks very much, man, and I wish you nothing but success in the future.
Cheers,
nice one,
pal.
brother.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Cheers, man. Nice one.